Calling this meeting to order. This is the Historic Resources Board. Today is July 7th, 2015, and we'll begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. So please stand and join me in that.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Happy birthday, America.
This one's yours, and these are all the copies.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
All right, so we go by cell phone time, but I'd ask everyone to please silence your phones now. And the first item is for roll call.
Ernest Franco?
Here.
David Medeiros?
Here.
Pat Garrett?
Aye.
Eric Drebsoff?
Here.
Amanda B. Bear?
Here.
Thank you, we have a quorum.
All right, the next item on the agenda is for public comment. This is the time when anyone from the audience can come to the podium and discuss an item that concerns them that doesn't happen to be on the agenda for the Historic Resources Board. We have speaker cards on the little table by the door, and that's for you to write your name and your address. Because when you come to the podium, Trish will call your name, you come to the podium, and the CMAP video is our official record, which is why we ask your name and address. So the first item, public comment. Is there anyone who'd like to speak about something that's not on the agenda? Okay, seeing no one, I'll move on to number 3. But before we do that, I just want to acknowledge the fire department, the San Juan Bautista Fire Department, Hollister, and CAL FIRE, because as you all probably know, we had 4 fires in town yesterday, and there was no loss of life, minimal personal harm, and 1 apparently loss of a home, which is tragic, but at least it was minimized to that. So we're always grateful for that, because in such a historic town, we're always vulnerable. The next item is...
Let me comment on that. It was
Yes,
suspected that something coming out of the exhaust was shooting out there. In the past, we know that somebody with a chain, a big truck with a chain, popping along, tender, dry grass on the sides, and you have disaster.
Yeah.
I think they said the catalytic converter had actually come apart.
Well, I hope they were able to track down who it was.
From a truck?
Yeah, from
Yeah.
a truck.
Yeah, there was something to do with the exhaust system.
Yeah. 'Cause on my walk this morning, we could see where it apparently started, and it just went, and finally it hit someone's backyard and their house, and then it continued on. I don't know why it suddenly stopped, but I just hope they'll find...
Good firefighting.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
firefighting. Okay, informal project review. So here's a point where a prospective homeowner or property owner who wants to renovate a property can come forward and say what they're proposing, and we can tell them that's a great idea or go back to the drawing board. We encourage folks to do that because there's no fee. It's a good opportunity to get some feedback before you invest a lot of time or money. So what I see on our agenda is that Howard Cohen from 70 McCulmy Street has a project, and I know which one that is. Do we have a staff report?
Mr. Cohen is in the audience, and he has a handout here, and I'll invite him to the podium, and he can make his informal presentation.
Thanks. Thank you, everybody. Hi, I'm Howard Cohen. I currently live in Santa Cruz. I've been in the real estate business pretty much most full-time for almost 30 years. Started when I was pretty young, and I've done a few other things, but I'm a great advocate, just so you know personally who I am, of California tourism. I've lived here my whole life. I love California. I've built homes around Southern California before, and really like your town. So we're excited about being able to hopefully do something here in a neat little town like this, because I really do like it very much. And everybody's been, one of the things I will say before I even start is everybody here has been so friendly as I walk down the street, more so than most other towns, which I think is really nice. So I want to compliment you guys on that much. But I thought what I would do is, since not everybody has a copy of this, and it's probably the most concise, quickest way to explain, is maybe just quickly read the cover sheet so everybody can get it. Is that okay? And then I can take any questions, or you guys can comment or whatever you want on it. Is that okay?
Sure.
Sure.
All right, so you know the property we're talking about, I believe everybody knows it.
70
Rodriguez
McCollum
Farm.
Street.
Correct. Our proposed model community honors the past with an eye towards the future through sustainable, green living, promoting community and social awareness. The development will feature new concepts in sustainable living, such as solar heating, low flow and energy-saving appliances and systems, gray water recapture systems, as well as sustainable gardens and common areas to promote a sense of community and social interaction, as well as acting as a model for other communities. All this can be achieved while keeping the architectural integrity and style of a historic town like San Juan Bautista. At this time, the proposed development is expected to be comprised of 12 single-family homes, averaging approximately 1,800 square feet each, walking paths and community garden with recreational common areas. A homeowners association building will incorporate the historic Rodriguez residence as a historical and architectural showpiece. And that's, of course, flexible for, discussion, but I mean, the idea would be to maintain as much, obviously, the architectural and feel for the property and for the city and the town that you guys want. And that's really our main goal, is to maintain that and have it look great. I mean, we want to bring, good stuff to this town with this development. This layout is meant to encourage interaction among the residents as well as sustainable living practices. The layout containing these green areas, gardens, and paths may also serve as a barrier from the freeway traffic and the commercial residential building, which will front on can you pronounce it?
McCollum.
McCollum? McCollum Street. Thank you. I apologize.
That's okay.
A commercial residential building in the form of a strip mall office complex with residences above. So it'll be like retail or office below with residences on the second floor. Will occupy the front portion of the lot. Current plans include approximately 9 to 16 units above and below for a total rentable space of about 27,000 square feet. So you'll see on the very last page in a second, I can show you the layout of the lot there. This proposal is contingent on the assumption of getting an amicable, affordable, and stress-free lot line adjustment agreement with the adjacent property owner, Kathleen Manning, to facilitate ingress, egress, and development potential. Although this would involve us giving up a portion of the valuable street frontage, it would facilitate a more, better development and more uniform square, rectangular-shaped lots on both properties, which is better, I think, for everybody. The next page shows, if you look through there, you can kind of see the few pictures, which I know you've all seen, of the property that's currently there.
We didn't get that. Excuse me a minute.
Yeah.
I don't think we have,
It was in our...
oh, it's just delivered today?
Yeah,
Okay.
right there.
Oh, Rodriguez
That's
Farm?
what it is, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's just pictures of the
Okay.
farmhouse that's there currently, which is in it's pretty bad. I mean, I don't know who's been walking through there, but it's very, it's not safe. The current way it's standing right now. Let's put it that way. On the next few pages, we have given 4 ideas of, actually next 3 pages, 4 different floor plan and elevations of some ideas we had that might look nice and in keeping with the Spanish early American architecture. And, mission style is something that I thought personally, being that the mission is here in the town and this is sort of the history of the town, that would be something I think would look really neat and look beautiful. So we got some nice renderings here. These 2 first Adobe-style, Spanish-style houses are approximately 1,850 square feet. Even though they look bigger, we're trying to stay away from any kind of grass and things that are going to take a lot of water. We're going to do drought-friendly landscaping and pathways and things like this. And then the last 2 houses on this 3rd page are a little more traditional early American style, which we felt was maybe a little more in style with what's currently there or on the street in front, on the other properties. But we're very, very flexible, I think, as far as the style goes, as long as the homes are sustainable. And when I mean sustainable, we're trying to keep, energy usage down, water usage down, trying to make it green, so to speak, eco-friendly, because that's a very big, important thing for me in my business and my life, is that we try to maintain the environment and do things in a forward-thinking manner. Again, while keeping the historical aspect intact. So that's important to me. On this next page, we gave a rendering of a commercial slash residential building, which is, again, doesn't have to look exactly like that. That's something that we can, once we start getting the architect going and we can, draw up some real more distinct drawings. But this is kind of the idea. It's like a 2-story building, 1-story retail, 1-story residential in the front. And then the very last page here is the plan site, which I've, not the best artist in the world, I must add, but I think it gives a very, very good idea of the design that we're sort of talking about. And can everybody see that? Is looking at it? Okay, so basically the first square in the beginning, where the 300 is, that would be the commercial building. And commercial slash residential building. And you can see the units I've numbered 1 through 16. That would be a 2-story complex with a large center courtyard, for lunches, relaxation, making it open space and nice. Parking would be plenty of parking around there for everybody. If you enter on the property on the very left side, you'll see there's a gate which we've designated for the driveway, which would pull into the housing complex in the back. And then we've got 12 single families in the back. And this is pretty unique, and it's maybe hard to see unless I explain it, but the way we've got this designed is the very front of the lot that's adjacent to the commercial building is kind of like a park and recreational facility where we were considering placing the current home and maybe building that into like a homeowners association or rec facility, since it's, I don't know, we'll have to see how much we can use of it and how big it's going to be, but I think that would be a great spot for that. And then...
Would that be in the gardens area?
Yeah, in the garden, right? You see there's a little...
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, it's right in the gardens. And around the outside of all the houses, this is the part I think is unique, is that we've created a walking path and gardens surrounding the entire property. So the way that the footprint would be, for instance, would be you would come in off the street into your garage, into one of the driveways there. You can see the driveways. The front of the houses, if they were Spanish style, might have like a courtyard area, which is a little private area. You could have like a fountain or a sitting area gated off in the front where people could relax, porch type thing. Then you have the house, and then going back into the back part of the house through where the normally it would be like just a rear backyard. We really don't want to do these postage stamp style lots where the developers come in and they try to cut up the lot as many ways as possible and put as many homes as possible. That is far from what I'm looking at doing. Number one, I'm not a greedy person in that way. Number two, I don't believe that that's a very nice way to make real estate. I never liked it. I don't like when people do that. I think it's too crowded and it just doesn't really add anything. There's no yard, there's no nice outdoor space. So what we're considering is maybe having like a deck area off the back of the house that's built on there, and then open space in the back going towards the path and the garden areas. So the neighbors would all basically be able to share common area gardens and pathways. And I would wish I had brought some other more photos of this, but I visited several developments like this recently, one of which is in Davis, California, and it's one of the first ones I understand in the country. And they had about 270 homes, I think it was, in this development, and it was laid out pretty much just like this. It was just pathways and common gardens. I mean, they had orchards, they had all kinds of really neat little garden plots that people could use. And it was all mixed, like nobody had any fences between their houses. And it was, they all did composting, they all did gray water recapture, so when the rainwater would come off, it would go into the plants instead of just running off into the street or sewer or whatever. So these are some of the things that I would like to incorporate into this, and that's why we call it a model community, so that we can kind of be a model, so to speak, for other developments in the future, and do it the right way, not the wrong way. And that's pretty much all I have to say about that. If you have any questions, I'd love them.
How long have you been in Santa Cruz?
2 years. 2.5 years.
Okay, so you're previously from Glendale?
Yeah,
I'm from Pasadena. Did you do any projects down there?
I did one in, I don't know if it was Panorama City was
Oh.
actually where it was in the valley, San Fernando Valley.
Okay.
I built 72 homes there with the developer, and then we did one up in Palmdale, where I wasn't the developer, but I worked with them, and we sold, it was like 40, 45 homes.
So have you done one of these model community projects?
No, this would be my first as far as this goes. I'm typically into, over the years, mostly been remodeling homes, and I just finished a house a couple years ago, 2 years ago, when I first moved here in Monterey area, and we built a very, very gorgeous remodel of a home, and I tried to incorporate things like, the wood, we used a lot of reclaimed wood from old barns and things like that in some of the decorating, and some of the gray water systems. The appliances were all low flow, the electricity was all done with low flow, sustainable, drought friendly, all that stuff. So I have quite a bit of experience with it, and I've done a lot of landscaping and remodeling, but never actually built this whole community like I'm talking about here.
You've got commercial listed here. Where would you be putting commercial uses?
I'm sorry,
That's on the bottom of the book.
In the front?
who's talking?
Oh,
Commercial.
no, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, I just want to look at who's, I couldn't see who was speaking.
Oh.
No, my question, where and what kind of commercial are you thinking about?
Well, we're looking at, again, it's very flexible, and I was hoping perhaps to get maybe some direction from you guys if you're anxious to, assist with that in any way. But what I'm thinking now is if you look at that picture that we showed you here, that's kind of an idea mostly of what I'm thinking. It's like a 2-story square, rectangular I should say, complex with a middle, top being all residential apartment units, and then the bottom could either be probably just retail stores. So I think it would be very great, to have like some really nice, like, I don't know, you could have a dentist's office or a tire, there's dry cleaners, you could, I don't know, there's all kinds of, any number of things that would.
Have you determined the size of the offices yet, or?
Yeah, we were kind of thinking, if you broke them up, the thing with the offices, of course, is that you can make them any way you want, right?
Right.
Some might be larger and some might be smaller. So the 27,000 square foot is basically 13,500 square feet per floor. And if you break that into 16 parts, it's about 800 and a couple feet per unit. So that would be both a sufficient size for apartments and for breaking up retail spaces in any way you want it to be.
I got a question. This 2-story complex, you have 16 units around it. You only got 21 parking spaces in the whole.
Oh, no, actually those are not, I was just kind of indicating where the parking would go. Quite honestly, it's not to scale as it should be.
Because 16 units is going to take at least 32 parking spots.
Yeah, I think,
including the commercial property at the bottom.
no, I agree, and I'm sure, quite honestly, that there's going to be a lot more space than we.
Yeah, it's not to scale.
We don't want this to happen, what happened across the street.
What's that? There's not
Too
enough
many
parking.
cars parked out on the street, and there's been no canopies over for the cars.
Yeah, no, we would absolutely make sure there's more than sufficient parking, both for the residents and for the retail. That's, that goes without saying, but I should have probably been a little more. If you look at the lines, how far apart they are by feet, you're going to see there's.
Yeah, I just wondered because you got a pretty good sized project there, and there's no place to really put a parking lot.
Yeah, no, I actually, when I was doing the calculations, I figured that I kind of kept it on the smaller side, actually. I think that you're going to actually wind up with more potential than I have here, which is both in the houses in the back and the front what I want, because I don't want to crowd the place. Like I said, I'm not anxious to can we just stick one more house in there and make another, bunch of money. That's not my goal here.
What's the proposed lot size for the 12 single-family homes?
They're approximately 7,000 square foot apiece, which, if you know much, like when you, in a normal, I'm sure you do because you guys are in the planning department, I'm not trying to say you don't, but normally 5,000 foot lot would be like a real small, normal standard lot in a lot of places. They go up obviously bigger than that. Substandard would be less than 5,000 square foot lot, and most of the PUD developments, planned unit developments that are being built around and over the years, they use like a 3,000 or 3,500 square foot pad sometimes or less. because they stick a 2-story house on a little tiny, the lot's like, the yard's like 10 feet, and that's it. And there's 5 feet here and 5 feet to the next house. And I don't like that personally. I don't even want to put my name on something like that because it's just not really me. And the whole theme that we were really starting with this was to show people how to build and live in a more sustainable way. It's really important to me that the environment is protected, and that we come in here, we use a lot of stuff, we have our carbon footprint everywhere, and we have to try to reduce that. And so I think that the way I know personally, as my past has allowed me to do this, is to build houses and show people by example how to do things like that. And Los Angeles, where I'm from, they don't even do composting, for instance, whereas in San Francisco, they're doing it, as a regular thing.
Yeah.
And now it's come down here to where now in this area, they're sending out compost bins, and all these programs are beginning, which should have probably started a long time ago, but now they are finally getting there. So that's
Another thing I see here too is the houses in the back. You can't get a fire truck
Yeah, it's
back
fire-
there and turn it around. You're going to have a total of 58 cars on this whole project.
Yeah, fire
I just
ac-
wanted to know for when
Yeah.
they design
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
they could come back to it.
definitely fire access would be my
They
concern.
need another way out
Okay.
to the street.
All right.
Because you're going to be dumping
Well,
almost
yeah, I
60
mean-
cars out on the street.
Okay, that's an excellent.
Well, another consideration too is at the upstairs, it'd be nice, there's an aging population that's looking for some kind of accommodation. Maybe they could live upstairs and we could have medical units downstairs. And they wouldn't have a lot of cars, so.
Yeah, most people are going to have automobiles. We don't want to happen what happened down there in the
Right.
road down there, is both sides of the wall,
Yeah.
all cars.
So your proposal is for this to be gated with an HOA specific to the, and this is proposed as 12 plus 16?
Yeah.
Yes.
16 apartments and 12 single family?
Yes.
All part of an HOA?
I was thinking the homes and the building would probably be separate.
Oh, okay.
The homes would be one HOA. The front building would probably be a completely separate thing.
Okay.
And because we're gonna probably sell each home will be sold to a individual family, right? So I'm sure the building at some point will then be sold to somebody as well. By the way, that point that you just made is really important about the fire truck, and I think we could probably maybe extend the road coming back around, maybe come out the other side or something. I mean, I'm pretty sure there's plenty of room to.
Yeah, these are things that you could kick around right now. You're just showing us what you want to do.
Yeah, and the features really are what we're most concerned about, is the having this open space and having the walkway and the path. I mean, this is like an exercise, trying to get people to encourage them to get outside, don't sit and watch TV all day, maybe go out.
Now, if you got a lot line adjustment, would that help you? It would help your property out quite a bit, wouldn't it?
Has that been settled yet?
Has it been settled?
Have
Yeah.
you coached?
Tentatively it has, but
Yeah.
we haven't got together with Kathleen. She was receptive to it, and
You have to deal with Kathleen. Right?
yes.
Yeah.
So is
we
it,
haven't, personally, I didn't approach her yet about it myself, because Roger had mentioned that he had already talked to her about it at some point. It was probably going to be something she wouldn't have disagreed to. I don't see, I think personally it would give her more frontage on her lot and square her lot up a little bit, which makes it a lot better for most people. Because the way it is right now, it's really very irregularly shaped.
Yeah.
And if you notice our lot, the Rodriguez lot, it comes to like this point, like right in the corner. It's really hard.
But it'd be a benefit for both of you to really straighten it out.
What's that?
It would be a benefit for both of you to straighten it out.
Yeah, yeah. And the line I drew here was almost like, it wasn't exact again to scale. It was kind of like this. I took the ruler and I decided about how much it would be equal if we, rotated it, and that's where the line went. So obviously, at the point we have the approval on the preliminary approval, we'll hire a survey guy and have to go through the formal process of redrawing it with everybody.
so ideally, you'd like to salvage the Chalmers house and use it as a visitors, is that my understanding?
That would be great. If I could salvage that property, I would like to do that.
Because
I like it. I mean,
it's deteriorating, but it's a pretty historic house. George Chalmers was a builder in San Juan, and he built, that we know, he did the Wilcox House, which is just across the highway, and he did the Morentis House on Monterey. Both are on the National Register of Historic Places, so they're significant, and it would be nice to retain it if we could.
Yeah, I think so too. And my partner Helen, by the way, over here, she's in keeping with all the same thoughts as I am. So.
Can we hear from the audience? Questions from the audience? The public?
You guys aren't speaking on this one. Carl Long?
Okay.
Thank you, members of the Planning Commission. Just a couple of comments in looking at the building styles. I think the early American and traditional style would probably be more appropriate and fit in better with what's happening across the street. The others seem to be more Santa Fe style, which is not really a style that's found too much in California, at least historically not. And I was involved with a citizens committee that worked on the project across the street. And at that time, we required certain street improvements from the developer. The sidewalk, the parking strip with all of the trees along there, and a large discussion dealt with the street and how we would hope that it would be reflected on the other side of the street as well, with the parking strip, the sidewalk. And we even, because the street's quite wide, we even talked about possibly putting in a center divide with trees to make it a really nice entryway, because it is one of our main entryways into the city. The Chalmers House, just by way of background, a number of years ago there was another project proposed, and as part of that project the house was going to be completely restored and also made into kind of a community center, art gallery situation. And planning commissioners and others did a site review and took a look at the foundation. And it's, even though it's all, redwood, it was still, appeared to be very sturdy. And I'm sure there will be experts looking at that. So I'm really very pleased to know that restoration of that residence is going to be part of the project. It would be nice if it could be highlighted a little more, because right now it's right behind the commercial. So it's not really visible from the right-of-way, and I'm not sure if something can be done about that. Anyway, those are my preliminary comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
You're up.
Richard Ponce, 93 4th Street, here in San Juan Bautista. I'm just not quite sure if this property goes all the way to the point to the Valero sign or not.
No. Right there in Canarder.
It stops once
No.
you go short.
Oh, okay. No.
That's over here.
Yeah, I heard they were doing some more adjustments or realigning the lots or whatever. And I was just hoping that your property would go all the way to the point, because we're in the process of creating a welcoming monument on our two gateways, and this is one of our main gateways. We're doing one on the other
The Alameda.
Montgomery and Alameda.
Yeah, the Alameda, sorry. I was only born here, I forget the names. Anyway, I was hoping that maybe we have another developer that's helping us do this monument. Very generous offer to help us do this. It's something that our community really needs. And at this point, at the very beginning here, I would like to ask if you can join us and help them create another monument together to our community. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Board members, do you have any further questions?
What if we'd said we'd like to save that house and have it moved over to the library property and a volunteer group get together and restore it? And then you could have a community center or whatever you want there.
Would you be willing to be part of
Or
that?
put it together. I mean, try to get some people together like we
Okay.
did
You could make it happen.
the thing.
Uh-huh.
That's the remainder.
You got to pick the house up, tear all the junk off behind it,
Yeah.
and pick it up and move it over there, and put a foundation on it, and then get people together and fix it up.
That's, you're talking about the
A
old
little house.
Yeah.
yeah.
That's an idea.
that was the first thing that popped in my
Yeah.
mind, is that if whatever use it's going to be, and I think you had said that the original home, you want to use it as a clubhouse for the HOA or something of that sort.
Community center.
And if there could be a deal struck on that remainder, it's a thought, an idea.
Yeah. Scar, did
that-
you have another comment?
I think, as most of you know, moving historic homes, it does not comport with the Secretary of the Interior standards, and it would probably lose its ability to be designated as a historic residence under Secretary of the Interior standards. If it is going to be moved, there is that corner lot on the corner of McCullamy and 3rd, which that would be a beautiful spot for a historic home.
That's true.
And I don't know how much the owner would want for that lot, but that might be another option.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Does
I
that
think
help?
the beauty of this thing now is that you had an empty lot with a historical building on it. The proposed developer has gotten some good ideas for it. And this is at no cost to him, no cost to us, but he's coming into a community he already thinks highly of, which is a plus, and then he's going to come up with something that's going to be basically implementing our general plan. Because we want certain things out there, and as you know, the private sector does it, and it's got something going here. Again, this is all preliminary, it's all in scratch, and so, but the idea, if you didn't like it, tonight would be the night to say so, and send him back to come up with another idea. But since you didn't hear that, you'll probably see him refining this, putting some more goodies, cleaning it up, but at least he'll be working something similar to this.
I think San Juan would really support a sustainable building and community.
That makes me really happy.
Yeah.
Really. I'm very excited about this, by the way.
Well, that's good.
I can't tell you how much excitement.
So are we.
Excited. It's a great thing.
Well, how do you feel about the house being moved off your property?
Not really sure about that one yet.
Another
I
thing
don't
to
know,
think
that's
about.
A new thought that I could think about. I have partners involved in this, so I would want to probably consult with them and discuss it, obviously, with them. But I'm not opposed to anything at this point. I'm just in the preliminary stages, as you just said, so I'm open to all kinds of ideas.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we got the right developer for this project as far as when it comes to restoration. The only comment I have on the architectural design of the buildings, they're more of a Southwest architecture rather than a Central Coast California mission town kind of thing. The motif, if you might want to call it that. So that's the only difference. It just looks too ornate for our community. Yeah.
Yeah, it's attractive, but it doesn't really fit in. These homes look more like the
Yeah.
Mission Villa.
Style,
Yeah,
earlier.
they blend in
Yeah.
better.
Okay, well, that's great.
Well, you can have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's fine.
And
And they'd be great too. I mean, that's why I put them in
Yeah. And whatever ideas you might have in that direction, we'd like to see that.
Great. So do I hear from you guys in a writing written report? Is that how it?
Well, this was an informal project review, so the purpose was that you could get initial feedback, and then you can go back to the city staff and take it from there.
Okay.
If you didn't take good notes, this live streamed on the website.
Oh, it is.
You can watch the whole thing.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be live on TV.
You got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I answer Roger a question? Did you give them information about the new lot sizes that we're trying to pass?
No, I haven't given him that, but I will, you
Because
know.
that could help out for the parking too, if you cut some of the lots down.
Yeah, right, yeah. Mhm.
'Cause
And that's
The main
gonna-
thing here is
it's
gonna
gonna
be
be-
parking.
Yeah.
It's going to be later on in the evening, we're going to talk about it, yeah.
Yeah, good point.
Okay, thank you.
Great,
you.
thank you.
We stay or leave or?
You may be excused if you
You're
choose.
certainly welcome to stay. Yeah, you're certainly welcome to stay.
It's a public meeting, so.
Yeah, same here.
Thank you for coming.
So much for your time, I
Very good.
really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for coming in with some good ideas.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Okay. Any more informal project reviews?
That's,
I see that a new owner in town walked in. Do you want to come forward?
Can I defer to the next planning commission?
Planning Commission? Sure, that's fine. Okay, that's fine. Okay. All right, then, we'll move on to
The
item
brewery?
4, the action items. We have the affidavit of posting agenda, and we have, we have 2 separate items, so I think we need to take them separately. Shall we,
Madam Chair, I move that the affidavit of posting be approved as acted on by the Deputy City Clerk.
okay,
Second?
okay. Trish?
Board Member Franco,
Aye.
Board Member Garrett, Board Member Maderas,
aye.
Board Member Gretasaw,
Aye.
Chairman Guevara.
Aye.
All members of the board being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. The next item is consider request to revise the brewery project design review approval. The applicant is Hippolyto Serta, and we're to consider the covered patio eating area and plaza, which we've only received tonight. So,
No drawings or anything? Oh, is that-
this
that's
is it. This is it.
That's it?
Well,
Very
this,
different. maybe.
yeah. It's not a covered,
No.
no.
Is the applicant here?
It doesn't look like the applicant's here, is he? No?
And he has a set of plans there that we were a little bit concerned that was more than just a covered
Yeah.
patio
It's a
cover.
building.
That's a whole new
It's a
building.
building.
It's almost like a building,
Yeah.
and so.
Yeah, I imagine this being a very simple post with a simple arbor or something or other, and this is,
Madam Chair, in the absence of the applicant to explain what he's doing here, I move that this item be continued to the next regular meeting.
Yeah,
I second.
Okay.
yeah.
Trish?
But that's not nearly close to what we were looking at.
Board Member Franco,
Aye.
Board Member Garrett, Board Member Maderas,
Aye.
Board Member Gretasaw,
Aye.
Chairman Guevara.
Aye.
All members of the board being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Next item is a discussion item on the city's historic streetscape. And what prompted this was that at the end of May, or at some point in May, we noticed new garbage cans in town. We had previously like wine barrel receptacles, and now we have very functional but very modern receptacles that have recycling. And I think what prompted this was that some residents on 3rd Street, or perhaps business owners, were using the city's cans for their personal use, which of course didn't work. It was brought to our attention by Emily Renzel, who has sent a couple of letters. She owns the Casa Dianza on 3rd and Franklin. And she suggests, and I would agree, well, I don't even know if she suggested, but I know I would like to see the old cans back, the old wine barrels back. I think it can be mitigated in a number of different ways. I don't know, do you want me to read her letter?
Do we have any photos of what's been replaced? I mean,
No,
what,
you just have to walk down 3rd Street. There are two receptacles.
Oh, the recyclable
Yeah.
with the,
Yeah.
it's scripted? Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
In fact, this morning on my walk, I saw someone had like fast food takeout that didn't fit in the can, so it was just sitting on top. So it's not a perfect solution. But Emily, Ms. Renzel, I don't know, is suggesting that she's provided actually a lot of other streetscape guidelines from other communities, and we all have a copy. She has sent 2 different letters, and
Chicago.
I think we really need to consider this because we do have a historic downtown. We need to, anything that goes there, we really need to look at. And I would like to suggest that either we have the strategic planning committee help us with this, or that I could chair a committee that maybe Emily Renzel and maybe Carbonk would help me with. We could come up with some language and bring it back to the board.
Can I ask Roger a question?
No.
Are them cans, the cans? Are them cans working?
Oh, yeah.
You don't have all the garbage you had before where people
No,
stop and
no.
throw all their junk in the garbage
We
can?
purchased them strictly with a locking lid and a restricted orifice, and stuff like that, so that we can't get mattresses and bedspreads and a lot of garbage in them that was
Before,
occurring
when you had the
before.
wine barrel and just the garbage can, you had everybody's garbage from
Oh,
all the
yeah,
time
Yeah, but
people
can't-
the residents that live
on
upstairs,
the apartment.
they were, every morning we come in there, they just,
So this makes it easier for the city to maintain?
yes.
Yeah, but that's like, the real problem is the residents not using their own receptacles. I think there could be some device put in place on the top of the can to lock it or make it not possible for them to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the problem I think is twofold. One is they're out of character for our downtown
That's
area.
right.
And the second problem is that residents are not using their own garbage. Is there, and I didn't even think to research this, is there an ordinance that each resident address has to have garbage service?
They have to have garbage service. Unfortunately, Recology doesn't enforce it.
Is it Recology or is it the city?
No, it's this Recology,
Okay.
the garbage company,
Now, I also seen people stop in cars and get out and take a handful of garbage over and throw it inside the can.
Yeah. 'Cause some mornings we come in at 5 o'clock and they, on those wine barrels, it was overflowing, and
Well, I mean, I know I had been in enough of the council meetings from the past to hear from the vendors that I understand their concern, but these are really just out of character, I think, for downtown. And
Yeah, and I think
I don't know if there's a way to dress up the current ones or if we're looking at.
Was any money
their-
spent on this?
I think those would be appropriate at the ballpark, maybe the soccer field, but I personally don't like them downtown.
We intentionally purchased them with a gray tan siding slats so that, but then it's got the locking lid and then you have to have some type of secured post.
Yeah, I understand the reasoning,
Yeah.
but I just
What
don't think
happens
they
if you
blend
keep
in.
all the garbage cans out of town?
Well, we tried that, and the merchants were a little bit upset because there was no place for the visitors to throw their trash,
Disney had actually done a survey years ago, and they had found that if people coming into the park had to hold a piece of garbage longer than 19 feet, they'd throw it on the ground. So theoretically, you had to have a garbage can
Every 19
every 38 feet or every 19, however that would work. But yeah, if they don't have a place to put it, it's going to end up on the ground.
And it does.
Yep.
You mentioned the fact that Recology is not enforcing. Isn't that part of the contract?
It's part of the contract.
Then I think the council ought to open that thing up and say, look, we're having problems in the city. We've got the planning commission involved. Do your job or go into have the contract removed.
One case there where we have 2 apartments up there, and the owner of the apartment says, I provide a bin, a 2-yard bin for them, but they have to walk through the complex and down into the parking lot of the motel to discharge. And these people coming out of their front door, they're not going to do that. So they walk to the nearest wine barrel and dump it. So they're provided with the thing, but it's...
So can the city find them? Do we have anything in place for that? If they have garbage, we could find names. I don't know,
How
it's
you
just,
gonna catch them? You gotta put a guard there all the time.
No, but often the garbage is going to have
Have a
evidence.
name
of-
on it,
Have
yeah.
a name on it, but then that comes down to enforcement. I
yeah,
mean, that's,
which is our problem.
which is our
So I'm
biggest
thinking
problem.
if it's working for now, we ought to just let it be and then see what we can do to make it more compatible with the community.
Do they have to be right on the sidewalk? If they're right on the curbside, could they be, I don't know.
If you move them back, then they're in the pedestrian travel way. You can't put them next to a building, you know. So they've got to go out by the curb, you know.
Is there any way to dress up the outside? I mean, there's got to
Yeah.
be a way to
Can't you put a
dress up
skin
the
over it
outside.
that looks like a wine barrel?
Well,
Put them inside a wine barrel.
I would say let's just try it the way it is. I mean, it's
He'd
not
shrink
bothering-
pictorials.
it's ugly.
It's ugly.
It's
not
ugly.
that bad.
It is ugly. This is
Well,
San Juan.
I know we get a few complaints, but by and large, the majority of the people don't complain.
There's only a few people complaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
I-
I will be
I'll tell you
first
what,
in
I've been
line.
here for a long time, and I seen this same problem 40 years ago with my garbage cans, and it's never gonna get solved.
Well,
This
this-
way here, it's been solved, it's less garbage on the street now, people aren't throwing all their garbage in it. Maybe we can get a better looking little one, but right now, I'd say let's try it, if it works, then we get
Yeah,
better ones.
I think we need to go this route until we can find something better.
No, and I don't disagree with you.
If there is.
The path I think we're trying to avoid here is the town has a certain ambiance that we're trying to keep intact within the downtown. And yeah, these, from a practical point of view, these serve the purpose exactly as we wanted it. You're limiting the size of the orifice that garbage is going into, but with that, we're also losing a bit of the character of our historic downtown that the HRB is trying to keep intact.
Yeah, when you think of photo opportunities, what's going to be included in people's photographs? These modern cans that they can see anywhere.
Stand in front of it.
No, all the old books I've looked up and read about, there's no garbage cans in the 1860s and 1870s in San Juan on Main Street.
You've looked that up?
I'd suggest, I would, if you are going to take this anyplace, meet with the San Juan committee or whoever it is and say, hey guys, we got a problem out here. We need your support
Well, here's another
to
thing.
get a better looking.
Who
whatever.
cleans up the ash cans in front of the bars? Like this morning I saw all kinds of, cigarette butts. So who cleans that? Does the
Were they
business
within 20
owner?
feet of the entrance?
We
Yeah.
try to get the bars to self-police that, but many times they don't, and so Joe and the crew get in there real early in the morning. Sometimes they-
Mom and Pop's cleans theirs all the time.
Yeah, right, yeah. Some of them, I got on John's case, and John from Daisy's was cleaning up, and then there's times when it laxes, and then you see a lot of cigarette butts,
Do we have any public comments? Okay.
And then I think the worst is the ice cream, sticky
Oh,
ice
yeah.
cream, and stuff. And maybe I can get on them to clean it up.
Well, and how often does the city empty the cans? Daily? Every morning?
Every morning we
Yeah.
go through it, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, members of the Historic Resources Board. The day after those cans appeared, I also met with Roger to find out, why the barrels were changed. And I'm completely in agreement with Ms. Guibert and Mr.
Greta Soft.
The new ones are totally out of character. Our downtown is listed on the National Register. We're a National Register historic district. Our lifeblood is the tourist trade. We should be really taking care of our downtown and its historic look. These plastic bins with huge signs that say trash and recycle are just totally out of character. I mean, can't we, are there inserts that we can put in
There have to
the
be.
barrels?
There
Maybe
must
there are inserts that lock and have the small holes. Or maybe we can actually have somebody make the inserts to take care of the problem. but I'm sure there's a way to maintain the historic look of our downtown. And I would urge you to take a look at those those ordinances that Ms. Renzel provided, especially the first one, I think it was from Massachusetts, that established a streetscape ordinance for their historic district, and it includes, any changes in the historic district. And there have been a lot of comments about those ugly yellow bumps, for people who are vision impaired. Other places use gray or buff. There are a lot of different colors. The other thing is sidewalks. The older sidewalks have a different color, and the scoring is different. The blocks are smaller. And if you take a look at what's been put in around JJ's, it's bright white, brand new concrete, huge slabs. It in no way no thought has been given to make it look or blend in with our historic district. And those are not big cost items. Throwing some colorant into the concrete or doing some extra scoring. Then there were the crosswalks, the big, ugly, were they yellow, striped crosswalks that appeared all of a sudden. We need to be more cognizant of our historic district. I mean, this is our lifeblood. We've got to, it's precious. We have to take care of it. So I would be more than happy to help draft an ordinance. I think that Massachusetts one is really from, I didn't read the entire thing, but it seemed to be really good. And that's what the Historic Resources Board should be focused on, is, protecting the ambiance and the character of our National Register district. Thank you.
I got a question for you.
Okay.
We did, at the planning commission, the brewery was supposed to be pavers.
Yes.
Somewhere
What
along the line,
happened?
it got changed without us even knowing it.
Why?
We don't know.
Well, make him take it out. It's ugly. It's
Well,
really ugly.
I don't know if we could do that, but
Why
somebody
not?
gave us permission to change it. When we passed it, it was all pavers.
I know. I have a set of the original plans that you
As far as the yellow
approved.
lines, that's a state law for safety reasons. And that's all cities.
There's a historical building
No, they're
code.
not. You look it up and I can't find it in there. Anyway, it has to go with the state or federal law.
Okay, well, I'll be happy to help the Historic Resources Board do research that's needed to be done.
Yeah, I'm not,
But, if mentioning the brewery, I have the plans that were originally approved by this body. What is there now is very different. It was supposed to have the wooden roof, shingle. It's supposed to have a shingle roof. I remember specifically asking the architect. Yes, it was to have a shingle roof. If you look at the original plans, it was going to have gutters running along the side. That water is going to be clattering down on those decks. The drainage is a mess. I've been out there 2 times when it rained last December and in April. It's totally flooded.
It started out to be shingle roof, but we changed concrete because it was cheaper to put the concrete.
Okay, well, I guess I missed that meeting. Anyway, the point is, let's take care of our historic downtown. It's what makes people come here, enjoy it. And it really doesn't take that much extra effort.
I got one more question for you. How come you get on us all the time, but how come you don't get on the state of California to let the Plaza Hotel fall apart? Look at the plaza. Go look at the plaza on this side. The whole balcony's falling off. They're not doing a thing about it.
Okay, well,
I
I'll
think
be...
you should be hammering a...
Okay.
go for it.
I'll put it on my to-do list. I'll look at it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would say one thing, though. If it was done contrary to what was approved, it can be ordered out. And I have no qualms about the Planning Commission revoking or whatever it takes.
Who gives the order to change it? That's the problem.
Planning Commission say, hey, this is in violation of what was approved. Remember, that permit carries the weight of law.
Was the original pavers supposed to go over toward JJ's as well?
I'd have to look at the
The whole
plans.
thing.
Okay. Was it the whole thing? What about
Except for JJ's. I mean, all the concrete work was supposed to be
We got
pavers.
public comment.
Oh, sorry.
District Council 93 Fifth Street. I'm sorry I didn't get a chance to go out to. Anyway, I agree with a lot what Caroline has to say about protecting our historical community. But then I also feel that if we're going to make Mr. Serna pull out his whatever he did there, and I agree he shouldn't have done that. There should be something we should do, maybe fine him or something like that, but I don't think we should go to the extent of having him pull him out, because if we do that, we're going to have to make sure we get all these other people that haven't met their conditions of approval. We need to get them to do them too. Let's just pick on one guy, let's pick on all of them.
If I can make a comment to the chair, if you notice, the Planning Commission has been going back and pulling permits that have not been complied with, and there's a big one out on the Salinas Road there, at the end of the Alameda,
Yes.
that we're looking very closely at.
Yeah.
So, again, this Planning Commission, well, this body can't take credit for all the problems that have been there, but we're trying to say, that was yesterday, this is today, we're in a new era, and what the problems that created, that whatever had created the problems we have today, we're going to do the best we can to clean it up, but also make sure it doesn't continue. And I just want to make sure that's real clear, because
Yeah, I'm clear. I'm very clear on that.
you got to go one by one as you find them.
Yes, but we
Yeah.
have that one that we've been dealing for years, and they got temporary signs up there for 7 years, temporary signs for 7
It's
years.
coming up.
Does that
Yeah.
make sense?
Yeah, we'll be
Yeah.
talking
Thank
about
you.
that. Thank you. We need to be consistent.
Yeah, and I'm thinking too that while we go forward, I mean, we need to see more of these things come before us so we can make decisions, particularly on the trash cans or anything. We're not seeing that.
That's right.
We need to see it
That's
here
why
first.
we need
We need to see it here
an
first
ordinance,
before we make any
a
changes.
better streetscape ordinance, so that it will be incumbent.
The
To
similar,
come before
similar
us.
issue came up when the benches went in.
We did see the benches.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but street
Yeah.
signs went in that we didn't see. Perhaps that's, I don't know, state law. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, and just real quick to the crosswalks, and I think there was a mention about the red curbs. I'm not as concerned
Yeah.
with them. That's a safety
Right.
issue, and as much as we are trying to protect the historic, safety has to come first. So I mean, I'm not as concerned about a bright crosswalk and a red curb as I am the actual layout, the
Yeah,
building, the
I agree.
architecture, and the surroundings.
Well, the crosswalk's one thing, but those dots for the
Truncated dots.
Yeah.
truncated dots, okay, those are for people who have hearing,
Right.
visual impairment. And many times they can't see those things.
Right.
And I have been in other cities where they are gray. It's basically the color of the concrete. So you're not depriving anybody of anything, because it's the effect of the truncated dots on the ground that I guess the folks are feeling for. So, like I said, that could have been handled
Right.
way
and,
back
And
then.
again, that was an issue that a previous city manager dealt with on his own without bringing it to us first.
Because you can mark the concrete like they used to do, they mark every 2 inches instead of having the yellow mats and stuff. Yes,
I don't
they
know.
do it all the time.
And actually, they're looking really dirty. After the last barbecue event, was there any cleaning done?
Yeah, we pressure washed them, and particularly where the ribs were cooked, yeah.
But it was a successful event.
Well, if we need to replace those yellow bumps,
Perhaps
I
a
think we'd all
slightly more
probably prefer a different color.
muted color.
Less. yeah,
They
more muted
refer
color.
to them as tactile pads.
Tactile, okay.
A tactile.
What I'm thinking, we can't vote on anything, we can't take any action on anything unless it comes before this board. And if things are not coming before this board, then we can't be blamed for something that somebody else is doing behind our backs.
Right. We don't want to be reactive. We
Right,
wanna be
exactly.
proactive, yeah.
So I think what's coming before this board, like particularly with the trash cans, we need to address that now that it's come before us, and I think we're going to go out and do that. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have something resolved by then. But in the meantime, we got to take care of our trash. You got to do it.
So do we need to set up to address the issue of,
Subcommittee.
either a subcommittee? I don't know if this would go back to strategic plan.
Well, what do you think? I could get Cara and Emily, we could work by email
The
probably.
committee of San Juan come up with something.
And work with the committee of San Juan Committee. What do you think, Richard? What do you think about the garbage?
Actually, we're more into promoting and advertising the community, but we will certainly help them where we can. And I think just for point of order, I don't think you can appoint a citizen on a committee. I think you can ask for volunteers, but it has to be posted, just to keep us legal.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so what are we gonna do?
Well, have you all reviewed these? Or is there anything that you like particularly that we could model? Something just short and sweet?
We put you in charge, you pick out the one you like, and we vote on it.
All right, why don't, I'll do that.
And
I'll accept input. Anybody willing to give me input?
And get the prices for what their cost is.
Mm.
You can.
Well, how about if we work on language first, and then we'll work on the cans?
Yep.
Okay. So next month, I'll bring back
Some
some language. Okay.
So this is the trash can committee.
Yeah.
No, I think we're going to start with the streetscape,
Streetscape.
the streetscape committee.
So I got, Roger, how much were them cans, do you know of them?
I think they run, by the time you get everything installed, about $1,500.
1,500
Yeah.
for two?
Yeah. Mhm.
So you got how many in town?
We purchased 3.
3?
45.
Well, I certainly think they could be well used at the baseball park and at the soccer field, maybe at the library park. And I think that the barrels that we had could be modified to work.
Well, they got them that go underground, but a lot of people, they don't use them. You push a handle, the lid open up, and then you throw your garbage in it.
Yeah, but
And then the city goes around and pulls the can out and throws it in.
it seems like there'd be a way to, either dress these up. I mean, I saw them and went, but I haven't taken a close look. I don't know if there's a way to dress up the outside with some barn wood or, I don't know. It's just a thought.
Yeah. All right, well, let me look.
So we need to find a barn in town.
Let me work on the language
Right.
for next month, the streetscape language, and I'll work on the other as well.
I'll review it too.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then, comments from the Historic Resources Board. Board members, do you have any comments, final thoughts?
I'm coming.
I'm good.
No.
No? City manager?
None.
City planner? Okay, then I'm going to adjourn the Historic Resources Board meeting and pass the gavel to the Planning Commissioner, Chair.
I think they should have asked you first. Okay, what time did you get here?
7:02, okay.
I think I know what you would say anyway.
Good evening and welcome to the meeting of the regular meeting of the San Juan Bautista Planning Commission. Call to order for the record. Roll call.
David Madeira.
Here.
Pat Garrett. Eric Redsaw.
Here.
Danny Guevara.
Here.
Ernest Franklin.
Aye.
All present, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, this is the time now for public comment. If anybody would like to get up and speak before the Planning Commission about an item in the city, something you think we should be addressing and haven't been, now would be the time to let us know. This will not be a dialogue with you, but we will be listening to you, and if it's such that we need to take action, we would agendize it on our next meeting, or just accept any good comments about how good a job we're doing. Do we have anybody who would like to speak?
We never get that. We have
Okay.
one.
I do.
You want to come out and fill up one of the forms?
I did.
Oh, you did, okay.
Do you call us? I've never been to one of these, so I'm...
Well, feel free, come on up to the podium.
Hi.
Now, you're on candid camera, so let us know who you are for the record.
I will tell you all about that. My name's Octavia Lee, and this is my husband, Daniel.
I'm Daniel Lee.
And this is our daughter, Caroline. And we are new to the area. We just closed on our
Hi, Caroline.
We just closed on our house on Monday. Just to give you guys a little bit of background, we love small towns. My husband grew up in one, and I grew up in a My mom is Vice President of the Commission Visitors Bureau and Chamber of Commerce for Santa Clara, so I'm very familiar with these types of meetings, and I love the fact that we are a small community and everyone can speak their mind and say their opinion. So I just wanted you all to know who we were, and I want nothing more but to, I got 2 minutes, I know. I want nothing more but to preserve, it's 103 to Alameda. I want to just vamp it up to the historical charm. I love personality and I love things that are bright. So hopefully, because I couldn't get on this meeting, for the agenda, the following, the August 7th or the 1st, I will propose like a couple different options that you guys can give me feedback on, or if you're up to meeting before so I can know that I'm going in the right direction, I'd really appreciate that. We'd like to, you know, start cleaning it up, put a new white picket fence, but still keep with the charm. I know there's probably a lot of opinions here, but again, I don't want to make it modern. I want to keep it historic. And I also am an interior designer, so I love, like, this is just my dream come true to be here, and I'm very grateful. And I'd love to volunteer, so you tell me what I need to do to get on a committee. You guys are going to vote me in. I want to do it.
Oh, boy.
Okay?
Where's your house at now?
On 103 the Alameda.
Next to,
It's in between the
In
Adobe
Thrift store.
building.
Where?
in between the thrift shop and the Alicia building.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
The old school customer.
Mhm.
Yeah. So we're open to suggestions, and yeah, I'm just so happy to be here. Nice to meet you
Well,
all.
welcome to
Thank
San
you.
Juan.
Yeah.
You know, and also, since we have a minute left, this is Daniel Lee, for the record. And so, yeah, we want to know, you know, kind of understand. I talked to Mr. Is it DeFranco?
Franco.
Frank. Mr. Frank.
Franco.
Franco. Mr. Franco. I talked to him a little bit after the meeting last time, and I understand that there's some bylaws which I haven't had time to review, but we want to kind of understand what, you know, what we're hearing from this. What's your name? Cara.
Yes.
We're hearing from Cara. You know, there's an element of this we have to preserve, but we also kind of want to know what we're able to maybe replace, or what we can. You know, so we want to understand that, and going into the next meeting, we want to think about the fence that is really severely, you know, falling apart.
Can I make one? Basically, all we want to know is what we're allowed to improve. We don't want to change anything. We just want to improve it all.
Yeah.
And before I want to be so prepared on the next meeting. If you guys can give me any insight beforehand, I would very much appreciate it.
And painting, possibly the exterior, which seems like it's got some cracking, and we want to understand what our limitations are there. We also want to possibly replace some ridge caps on the roof. So we have a couple ideas. There's some interior stuff that I know that Mr. Roger there talked with a gentleman, contractor for interior stuff. So we're moving, but we want to kind of get that plan together for next meeting to have some approvals possibly. Okay.
I think, you know, I think what I'd like to do there is, you're in a historical district.
Yeah.
The base zoning is commercial with a residential component. You know, it cannot be a full residence. It has to have a commercial component. Any time that you change the exterior, you must make an application to the Historical Resources Board and come up with the colors that you're going to paint. Now, there is a technical glitch in there. Maintenance and effort, you know, fixing the fence, you can do that. But if you change the color, then you have to come in front of this board.
Of course.
And
part just on that note, may I respond that we had some issues with the loan because it was zoned commercial, that it was their real estate agent said that it was
rezoned.
It was actually rezoned, it was a misprint, that they actually did go already and get it approved for a residential use only. The commercial was taken out because that was the only way we were able to get the loan.
Who told you that? No, nothing has come to this board that it had to be rezoned, or it was rezoned. It's still zoned commercial, mixed use.
So maybe offline I can give you the paperwork because that was like a miracle that we even got the house in because we were not on that.
Okay, from the planning commission's perspective, I would suggest that you draw a site plan,
Sure.
look at your house, take a bunch of pictures, decide what you want to do, list, and then talk to Roger, and he can go through.
We have to leave.
Oh, was that mine?
Recess.
We'll sit
Sorry.
down.
Time is up. Okay. But the key thing is that line up everything you want, work with staff, and then he can tell you, this you can do, this is a building permit, this requires review by the Historical Review Board, as you saw tonight,
Okay.
and do as a package deal there,
Okay.
as opposed to doing one thing. And if you got a business, you're going to have a sign, apply for that. Basically, let staff help you make one complete application. If it's got to go to this board, the Plan Commission, or the Historic, either way, but have everything that you want to do in one place. And that would save you a lot of time, because if you start doing this piecemeal, you're going to drag on. But by having it all, a package deal with staff, then he'll say, okay, this goes to this board, that goes to the Planning Commission, and they can be acted on in one night.
Thank you.
Bring your color palette, whatever you, okay. So just bring your choice and we'll look at it and,
But the key thing is, if you want a sign, we have a new signed ordinance.
I don't plan on running a
No,
business.
she has a business. That was just side.
It's just
She's
side.
not
I don't
gonna.
plan on running a business.
She's not gonna run a business out of there.
Unless I'm supposed to.
This is a commercial area.
Scan that.
This-
Yeah.
Maybe we should.
I want to let you work with staff, because it's taking up commission time that we can't resolve this for you. But work with staff, he'll get all the details out of you and then advise you as to where you have to be.
Sounds like we got a pickle, okay.
And we will help you as best we can.
Yeah.
And if it comes out that they give you a bad time, he can help you with making that determination, and you can go see an attorney and say, hey guys,
Oh, okay. We just got the house yesterday, so this is a little.
I know. See, but the key thing is, tell your friends and associates, anytime you're going to buy a house or property, see your local planner first. That's,
We were told in writing that they did and that it was rezoned. That's a bummer. But-
Yeah, they
Okay,
can't do
appreciate
that.
it. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
okay, we'll see you again. Thank you. It'll be okay.
Never got any
Yes.
application on rezoning at all.
well, this is Bob, isn't it?
And welcome.
Wonder where they
Yeah.
came up with that,
I
yeah.
think we'd know about it.
And by the way, welcome.
Welcome to, yeah.
Maybe we were all absent that meeting.
Yeah.
Hate to be
Okay, the
there,
next
but-
item we have, since we have no informal project review, do we have any public comment, other public comments? Anybody else want to speak? No, okay. Let's go for informal project review. Do we have any others, Sergeant?
None, Mr. Chairman.
None. We got a consent agenda. We got to approve the affidavit of the posting agenda, approve the affidavit of the notice of public hearing, and approve the minutes from May 5.
I have a correction on the minutes
Yeah,
of May
but
5.
let's go ahead and take A and B. We could move on, act on those, I think. So
Okay.
I'll move that we accept.
Well, let's get out of the consent agenda. Let's take 4C and put it, let's see, after the action items. Let's take 4C and make it 6C. And that we will talk about the agenda later, but you can act on the first two. Okay, the chair entertains a motion for action on approval of the agenda and the meeting notice.
I move that we accept A and B.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
We have a motion, seconded.
Commissioner Garrett?
Aye.
Commissioner Mederos?
Aye.
Commissioner Fredestov?
Aye.
Commissioner Guerrero?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the board being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay. Now we have a public hearing item. Consider a site and design review for residential units in minor subdivision at 69 San Antonio Street. I'm chairman, and the state of California has determined that I have a conflict of interest because I live within 300 feet of the project, so I'm going to vacate my seat, and I'm going to pass the gavel to Vice Chairman Mederos.
Oh, really?
You thought it was just an honorary title, I know.
Yeah. Very relaxed. Okay, here we go.
Mr.
Yes.
Mr. Vice Chair and members of the commission, the applicant received a tentative map approval with 27 conditions, and part of those conditions, item 14, was that he must submit to the Planning Commission a site design review for the homes that are going to be built here. He's submitted the following 3 plans, is asking for the commission to review those and approve those. Mr. Clower is in the audience, and he's available for any questions.
Why are there just 3
He's elected not to build on the 4th lot at this time.
and not on the 5th lot either?
No. The 5th lot is the remainder, and the 5th lot,
We'll bring them back to you. It's hard to get 5 sets of plans in all at one time, so we thought we'd start with 3.
and the 5th lot, the remainder, will require a special permit before he can build on that, and that is where he has to go through a certificate of compliance. You know.
Sidewalks and all that stuff you would put in, right?
Yeah.
Oh, wait, the 5th lot, the remainder?
The remainder.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's the one that,
That's the one that's not part of the subdivision.
Not part of it.
It's there, and then you'll have to go through a certificate of compliance, which is just a review to make sure that it meets all of the setbacks, public improvements.
Can I make a comment before we do that? There's a discrepancy between the APN numbers. On the Exhibit A, the number appears as 002-035-013.
Exhibit A.
Conditions of approval.
Oh, yeah.
And I think it should be 002-35-0013.
Oh, okay.
Because on the resolution, that's how the number appears, and I checked the DPRs, and that's how the number appears. So I think that the conditions of approval number is not correct.
002-35013.
It should be 002-35-0013.
Oh, yeah. Instead of it's 350 is what it should be.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
The 0 is in the wrong place.
On the conditions of approval,
Yeah.
Where's the 00?
this number's not right. It should be
The
0.
number,
it should
the
be
number should be
5350.
always 002, and then the page would be 35, and then
Oh,
if it's
okay.
on page 2, it would be 352, 350, 351,
Okay.
and then the number.
Okay. All right, then we're, oops. Feeling like
Okay.
Okay.
Mr. Clement.
And Mr. Clower's in the audience, and he's certainly welcome to speak. With the application is a site plan and the floor plans and the landscaping plans.
Okay, so Mr. Clower, do you want to come up and say anything at this time? Please do.
Commissioners, I will stand and answer any questions that you have if you reviewed it.
Are there any copies for the audience?
It's in the book back there. The binder.
Well, I'm not prepared to approve 3 out of 4. I would rather approve 4 out of 4.
I agree.
I would want to take the whole package.
What happens if he wanted to come with just one at this time?
Yeah.
I think it's a package deal.
You know,
It's a subdivision. Why would you do them
If-
piecemeal?
no, but
We're not gonna-
if
we're not
he's
gonna
a...
piecemeal it, we're
yeah.
trying to get it 3 before you. Chances of us starting right away are limited. We have to do all the engineering and get to the dirt work, but I wanted to get something before you, before next month, just in case we've got it. If we got it done, within 2-3 weeks, we can get started on a couple houses.
Well, I understand your urgency, but I still want a package. I want to see the whole thing. It's a subdivision. Why wouldn't we?
Yeah, she wants us to see the whole picture at one time.
Yeah. I don't think
I know
that's
you want to build 3
unreasonable.
houses right off the bat. But you're going to put all the roads, the streets, gutters, the sewer, and the whole thing in, right?
It's all gotta be
Except for
in.
the last 2 houses.
No, it's all got to be in on it for
No, I'm talking
everything.
about the 2. You're not going to build the last 2 houses.
I'm going to build them. I just didn't have them designed and ready to present to you at this
Oh,
time.
okay, I see what you're talking about.
So next month, in a perfect world, I'll come back with the 2 remaining
You
plans.
can only come back with 1.
Right.
Right,
Because the other lot is,
right.
So you want to see all of the houses on the 4 lots?
Since it's a subdivision, I want to see all 4.
One of the other concerns I would have is when we walked the property, there was a discussion about perhaps coming up with one of the homes as having a similar style to the home that was removed in, for lack of a better term, honor of that home. And none of these three have it. The fourth one may or may not. That was a discussion we had when you and I were out there, was it not? And
Yeah, I heard that too.
I mean, I understand the purpose of trying to get this in. I would like to see the whole package too. I think because it's the whole thing, I'd like to see the whole thing together. At least a picture, so we have an idea of what we're looking at. You don't necessarily have to build all four at one time.
Well, that
but
was
I think I'd like to
I
see.
was gonna ask you that question. What if I presented the four and I built one, and then I waited 3 years to build the next one, and then the next one?
I don't think, can you do that?
Yes.
Yeah, you can.
Absolutely.
Once he subdivides it, he can build one at a time, one a year or whatever.
That's not the plan. The plan is to build them all at once.
Right.
Yeah.
But there's a fine line where
Economic.
once you approve the subdivision, you can only dictate to me so much.
Wait a
And I'm saying
minute.
that in a nice way, that I can build one, or I can build four. I understand if you want to see them all, I'll do my best to bring them all
Yeah.
to you. But let's just say if I don't have enough funds, I have to build one and sell one, and build one and sell one.
But we still could see plans. And actually,
Right.
you know,
For the
I think,
four.
I think you really have 5 parcels there, and I think we cut you some slack on that one. And I don't think it's appropriate that you are now asking to just do 3.
No, I'm not. I'm sorry. I think that I'm going to do 4.
Yeah.
But I've only brought 3, and
Okay.
I pushed my designer to the limit to get those. So I can go back and bring another plan for you, if that's what you like to see, the whole subdivision.
I personally would, because I think what we've been trying to do is to look at projects as a whole rather than piecemeal, because it's the whole picture. And I think you'll probably do a great job, because I like what I've seen so far, but I just want to see them all.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was going to say a couple of things. I did read our municipal codes on remainders, and it does fall under what is written. I kind of agree that because it's 5 and could have been 5 and would have taken it to a different level, you're right. I think it follows the letter, maybe not the spirit. As far as, and I can appreciate the financial implications of having to be told you've got to build all 4 at the same time or within that little window. And I think we need to see a complete picture of what they're all going to look like in themselves. The discussion that we clearly had on the property, and clearly with the other members, was also that one of the homes was going to be in a pattern to honor the home that was
there.
That was there. And I don't see that here at all. And so that just makes me nervous that we're going to say yay to the 3, they start getting built, and it's, well, now look, let's just make sure they all kind of, I'd rather see that picture.
But really, if he wants to, he could build 1 house on a lot every year, or he could build 2 houses.
Yep.
This 3rd house, 4th house don't mean anything.
No, we still want to see the plan.
It doesn't matter. He could bring it to you after he builds the other 3. Go to Hollister, they're doing the same thing on them subdivisions.
I don't live in Hollister. I don't
I
want to
know,
see what
but
they do.
it doesn't matter. He got a approved plan right now for 4 lots. He could sell either 1 at a time and build a house, or build all 4 of them, or build 2 of them.
I can see that he wouldn't want to build them all at one time.
He's got to bring the other plan back to us later when he starts the project. I don't want to hold him up. I mean, let's get
I'm
the
not
project
concerned
going.
about that, because I know by bypassing CEQA, he's already taken the fast lane. So,
Well, I don't think so.
I kind of agree with Pat that, I mean, we're going to have the plans no matter what, and it's his property, should be able to build it to our requirements, to all of our requirements, each lot has to be built to it. So if it's going to be phased in over,
1 month, 6 months?
1 month or 6 months, as long as we get the plans and they build
As long as we get the
according to what
plans.
we want, I think we should be okay at this point in time. So I'm with Pat on that. I don't, I haven't read the ordinance or anything as far as that goes, as far as researching it, but it just, to me, it makes sense that we need to understand what the applicant wants and be able to work with the applicant and be able to do what we can to get these lots developed as they come up. So I think that's where we need to go with this. I know that I will see eventually all the plans and what have the street plans are already done. We
Right.
got the layout, we got the sewage, we got everything. We know what that's going to be. We know where the lots are going to be. The only thing we're looking at is the housing themselves.
We met with Roger and we had difficulty on the remaining lot there, fitting the size of the house on the lot because we have a 20-foot easement in the back and a 20-foot easement in the front.
Yeah.
And there's a cul-de-sac right there, so the house wasn't fitting properly.
Yeah.
So that was our main reason we didn't get it to you on time. So we've got to scale down the size of the house to get it to fit on there.
Of the three that you're going in with now, can we change one of them to look like the existing building that was there?
I was going to ask Commissioner Grezdoff, what component would you like to see?
I think we were talking about more of a
Gable?
Two-story old.
yeah, two-story old-fashioned with more of a pitched roof design. Gables.
I was trying to stay away from the two-story just because we limit the amount of buyers. With the previous applicant, he was talking about moving, or I think you may have said moving the old people upstairs, which they don't go upstairs.
No, but they're elevators. My in-laws lived in an assisted living facility with elevators.
But that's very difficult. So that's kind of what I was trying to say. I built a house on First Street and we limited our buyers because of the two-story nature.
Well,
of the house.
even a single story was something
Just
more of a higher and a bigger pitch, just something that that was really kind of the
brewery.
yeah.
So we can.
And it will give a bit more of a variety to that, so you're not looking cookie cutter.
Yeah.
So you don't have 4 homes that are all there and look exactly the same. Just something to give it a little bit more character and go, oh, that's nice, and wow, a nice take on
Siding, stucco?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, somebody coming from out of town to buy the property probably isn't going to know, hey, what was on this property before and up. But I mean, just to hold a little bit of the character of what was there, and again, for lack of a better term, in honor of the home that unfortunately was well beyond economical repair.
We'll see what we can do with this house down there.
On First Street, the little blue house is situated back in the back.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And as far as the conditional approvals and everything is going to be a part of these, that's all, it's already there on paper, and that's where we're working towards. So if we're approving anything today, that's what we're approving for those 3 homes.
Well, I'm still surprised because
We want to stipulate at this point in time with the condition that maybe one of those homes should look like the existing old home.
we
That
wanted
would
to take the
that
whole,
would be the only
we
thing.
wanted to take the brewery as a whole property, the brewery and JJ's. And now we're going to parcel it out and take them individually.
That's, we've already got the complete plan, the design for that.
Yes.
No.
See, this is subdivision, like his is, he could build one house right now, and wait 10 years to build another, legally. We divided up 4 lots, plus the remainder lot. That's the way it works. You could build them all at one time, or you could build 2 houses or 3
Oh,
houses.
we're not talking about building, we're talking about the plan.
Well, he'll bring the plan when he's ready to
Well,
bring
I
that in.
still think,
What do you expect the timeline to be for the 4th property? I mean, I'm not going to hold you to, I'm just, in general, what do you,
I want to go right away,
okay.
but
What was not presenting the fourth plan tonight just a matter of you couldn't get it done and printed, and you're trying to move forward with your
Right, like I
construction?
said, we had trouble with that lot because of the size of it and the nature of it, so we had to.
What size is
shorten
the
it.
lot?
It's 7,600, but there's 20 feet in the front and back.
Oh, there's
Easements
an
on both.
easement in the back?
Yes, all the way across the back. And it goes right into the cul-de-sac, so it turns right there, and the configuration's a little bit off.
So is Lot 1 the closest to San
Top left.
Antonio? Okay, and then 2, and then 3 will be vacant for a while, and then 4.
It's not necessarily vacant.
Well, we just don't have a plan.
We don't have a
Right.
design
He
yet.
he designed the plan to get back to us with it.
Well, okay,
So, we could approve this, and he's still gonna bring the plan.
Okay,
can we add any conditions?
I can't.
Public comment.
I know,
Oh,
but
okay.
hang on. Anything further you want to ask the applicant?
Not at this exact
No?
moment.
Does the staff have anything further to add?
No, I think
Okay.
we've reviewed the plans, the square footage, and the setbacks. It's drought-resistant landscaping, very minimal turf area, and so it fits with the new standard for landscaping criteria.
Another thing that I want to check in too, Roger, the federal government's coming out now with a new program for solar panels on roofs. They're gonna pay for a lot of it, for saving energy and stuff.
Okay, thank you, Mr.
Thank you.
Flower. At this time, we'll open for the public. If anybody has anything to say
John Ferrera.
about, okay. John? Mr. Ferrer?
John Ferrer, 507 7th Street. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to start off by thanking Roger for his very capable reading of my email from the last meeting. I apologize I wasn't able to be here. As far as I understand, that was the first meeting in front of the Planning Commission on this entire project. So I hope my comments tonight aren't too late. I did send you 2 emails today, or yesterday. The first email, and I think we'll dispense with it real quick, is this whole remainder parcel thing. As I say in my email, I tried to find out as much as I could on remainder parcels off the internet. And there was no definition I could find of what a remainder parcel can be used for. So I'm assuming it's to be used for, you have a big parcel, you have a house you want to keep and live in, and you want to make 4 other parcels, then that would be a remainder parcel. I don't think that applies to what happened here. And I don't know what the difference is. You know, how important was it to be a minor subdivision versus a major subdivision? I think the most important part of all that was the provisions under CEQA. And as a minor subdivision, a lot of the stuff that you would have to do under CEQA, you don't have to do, because it's a minor subdivision, no significant impact. I looked at what the intent of the legislature was with CEQA, and I provided you with 3 things that's important to consider. That the EIR serves not only to protect the environment, but also to demonstrate to the public that it is being protected. An EIR is to demonstrate to an apprehensive citizenry that the agency, the Planning Commission, has in fact analyzed and considered the ecological implications of its action. And finally, the lead agency must consider the whole of an action, not simply its constituent parts. The whole of this action was 5 parcels. Ain't no way around that. And I understand that the 5th parcel is going to end up having a house on it, so it is a 5-house subdivision. What difference that makes, I don't know. It just bothers me that the board approved, or the commission approved, a 5-parcel subdivision by saying it was 4 parcels and a remainder. Probably nothing can be done about that now. The second email I sent today has 5 or 6 specific things, and my house is directly adjacent to this, and I want to again say I am very happy that someone's developing this parcel, especially if they can dig out the gophers and the squirrels that go from that parcel to mine. Make me happy as hell. First off is the street improvements, and I did in my last email I did make an error. I said policy T7, but it's two other policies that are in the city's general plan that kind of direct the plan proposer to participate in improving the roads around the plan. In this case, it's not just San Antonio Street, it's 7th Street. And if you look at the way 7th Street is constructed, because it was built on a slope, not very good planning in 1979, part of the road is flat, the other part angles off like this. And where that angle off occurs, the pavement is gone. And I know that the city manager has talked about chip sealing. Is this clock going really fast?
We'll give you an extra 3 minutes.
That's okay.
Thank you.
Go ahead, John.
Where the road slips off, right at that crown, there is no pavement to repair. And I don't think a chip seal will hold. And I just think that within the vicinity of the dead end of 7th Street where this is going to connect, that the plan proposer can do some repair work to the road, especially when you look at the number of trucks that are going to come through there to haul away the amount of dirt that is considered part of this plan. I counted that there are 80 houses that people would probably use 7th Street now to get to Highway 101. That's all the houses on 7th Street. Lang Street, Paulson Court, I drove it, there's 80. And if each one of those houses just drives to Salinas or Monterey or gets to Highway 101 twice a week, that comes out to 16,000 additional trips on 7th Street. So certainly that road is going to become an issue real quick. I want to talk about the undergrounding of utilities. I know, and I wish 7th Street was going to be undergrounded too, that's not going to happen. But what I don't want to happen is in my front view shed, a vault from where they drop the power lines, cable TV, phone lines into the vault, underground them, and into the new project area. It might be a lot easier, and I'm not trying to dump it onto San Antonio Street, Mark. But at the end of San Antonio Street, there is a pole maybe about 60 feet from the project site that another pole could be installed within the project site, undergrounding occur there, vault occur there, and then the people in the new proposed area, right for the remainder parcel, can have the joy of looking at this vault. The third thing is I asked what the definition of high wind is, and when you look at the map here, and I can ask, do you know about how much dirt you guys are going to be moving?
We'll be moving it, we won't be taking it out. It won't be going down the street, if that's what you're asking.
Well, no, but you're digging down about 9 feet deep, so that's a lot of earth that's going to have to be hauled out of there.
It's not going to be hauled out of there.
Okay, well, a lot of dirt going to be moved, and I know that the one of the conditions is no earthwork during high winds. And I just need to know, what is a high wind? Is that 10 miles an hour, gusts of 20 miles an hour? Who monitors it, and where's it monitored? And that's not addressed anywhere in here, is what is a high wind. Finally, there are two other things real quick. When you look at the intersection that's now created of San Antonio and 7th Street, this turn off of 7th Street down to San Antonio, if you're going right, it's going to be a very difficult turn to make because you're on a slope and this is less than a 90 degree turn. I calculated it's about 75 degrees. So if you're going from 7th onto San Antonio, you're going to have to swing out to come down. Versa versa, if you're coming up San Antonio onto 7th, you're going to end up cutting that corner. And I believe that a stop sign on San Antonio to prevent cars from cutting the corner might be more appropriate than just a speed bump. And then finally, the issue of retaining walls. If you look right next to my house or my parcel, it looks like they're going to be cutting in some places 6 feet deep and within 5 feet of my property line. And I just recommend that the requirement of actually installing retaining walls all along where the cut is being made be part of the approval process. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Silvers, would you Want to speak? Not to this one? Okay, I go next. Sorry. All right. Carson Flower.
Speak on the next one, I'll pass on this one.
Okay. Carl Vaughn.
Since the former speaker did raise the CEQA issue, I'd like to address it as well. And I did send an email, I think, to certain members. The city authorized demolition of the existing, or the building that existed there. And it was identified in our historic resource inventory as being potentially historic and requiring further research. So under the California Environmental Quality Act, a CEQA report was required. And that report would have been prepared by a qualified historian. And that report would have provided information to the city documenting whether it was historic or not. And if it was historic, you could have still authorized demolition, but certain conditions would have had to have been implemented, like HABs-HER documentation, which are very specific types of documentation, black and white photos. You know, there are professionals who know how to meet those guidelines. None of that was done. So we have no idea about that building, how historic it was, who lived there, you know, what the history of it was. We have no documentation. You know, the city is just, it's cutting corners. All right, time is money. That's what our city manager likes to, that's his mantra, time is money. But apparently you also, you know, took steps to call it a minor subdivision when apparently, in fact, it wasn't. Anyway, I'm here to talk about historic preservation and what's required under the California Environmental Quality Act. That also was something that you folks missed the law on. Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
So you have? Okay, before I turn it over to the commissioners, the staff has anything to say about what's been spoken this morning?
No, I think that a lot of points that John have brought up have been addressed, and the plans have not been submitted yet for the things that many of those items, from retaining walls, stop signs, speed bumps, underground electrical, will be addressed, and we'll certainly be cooperating with John to let him know how they will be interfaced with the neighboring property.
I would have a hard time supporting item G. The proposed residential structures will not interfere with the use and enjoyment of neighboring homes and will promote health, safety, and welfare of the area. I would want to see that we include some of the amendments to 7th Street and perhaps the stop sign and center line at this point. As conditions, as the resolution. This says the proposed residential structures will not interfere with the use and enjoyment of neighboring homes. But a neighbor is arguing that it would, and I think I agree with his points.
But I think the engineers took that all into consideration, haven't they, Roger?
Yes.
Well, that's fine, but where do we see that?
It
Where do we
was on
see
that-
that
it
on
was
this
on the original
resolution?
set of plans that
Okay,
we
but if we're
approved.
going to approve a resolution, don't we need to see the details and be assured that that's going to be the case?
The proposed residential structures will not interfere with the use and enjoyment of the neighborhood homes and will be promoting health, safety, and welfare. And, you know, okay, by connecting the streets, the safety of the homes have been increased because of the emergency access and the fire.
But also,
The
the
second part-
roadway is going to be diminished. It's already diminished, and it's going to get further diminished by all the traffic,
Well,
heavy
that-
equipment.
That becomes a city issue then.
Mm-hmm.
The city will have
Yeah.
to put the money up to fix
But
7th
it's,
Street.
but it's
Okay.
being created by,
But why don't, okay, where,
I find it hard to believe that 16,000 vehicles are going to take 7th Street to get to Highway 101.
Well, we
And
didn't do a
first of all
traffic
is
study,
that
so.
if we put speed bumps there, people from Lang Street and Lang Court are not going to take a right or a left and go down through the 7th Street between Washington and Polk, when there is two major dips in the road for a storm drain and deteriorating, and I think that they'll find it's easier to go down to 4th Street and then out to the Alameda and into 156. However, not to diminish John's concern about the 16,000 vehicles per day, is that we have an asphalt overlay program, and that we're going to address that. We've seen the deterioration of 7th Street by the garbage trucks that come to the end to pick up the garbage and then turn around. Now they're backing up and they're tearing up the pavement, and we're very cognizant of that, and we're going to repair it.
What about the stop sign in the center line?
The stop sign in the center line?
Stop sign and a center line. Because there's not a 90-degree angle, the center line will just direct people
that
to...
could be accommodated strictly in the striping if we want to, is to move it over. That's a cul-de-sac, and then we could bring it over and then get a wider radius so that then they don't cross over and...
I'll have to read through the conditions. We discussed there being a center line coming around the corner with maybe some tiles of some sort to help delineate.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
I mean, like a...
risers, just so that if you go over the top, you're going to be... You're going to...
Early enough to avoid, so you would avoid going in the wrong direction.
I think we'd also discussed putting in speed humps within the new sections, which if you're coming off Lang and going through to drainage and then over the top, you're probably going to head down to McCullamy, I would gather.
Okay, item D says the proposed residential structures are compatible with the surrounding character of the area and in terms of architecture, design, materials, and colors. What color scheme? We don't know the colors.
Yes,
we got them tonight.
Submitted to you.
Oh, well, that just came tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that... We have to have this before the meeting.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, it's really easy to say, yeah, these are pretty and all, but to really put thought in, I mean, our job is to do what's best for the city, and a single home going in one place, that's pretty. Next to that, maybe.
Well, how can you make
maybe
a
not.
decision, an educated, informed decision, when you don't even see it until the meeting begins? So that's just...
Any other comments?
Well, the question about the high wind, where is the threshold? What is the...
Well, anytime when you're moving dirt and everything, and if the wind comes up in the afternoon, the inspectors, we shut them down, and we just says no more grading until the winds die down.
Does somebody from the city make that call, or do we rely on the...
City inspectors, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And it could be a 15-mile-an-hour wind that when they're doing the dust. Could be higher, it depends on the amount of applied water they put on when they're moving their dirt. Most dirt movement activities involve compaction and applied water, and if it's dry and it's windy, then you're going to get dust, and then we'll make sure that there's applied water on it.
Typical construction.
Yeah.
I got one question on that old house you were talking about. In 1940s, a man named Mike Earl bought that house, and he completely gutted it and put in 6 apartment units in that house. So when we went and looked at that house was pretty well dressed. It was, they chopped it all up, and there was no original inside at all. They had 6 meters on it. The fireplace had pulled almost 3 feet off the building. It was an existing fireplace. It was put on in the 40s, 50s. I know the historical about the house. I could play it when it was empty.
And the interior is not important. It's what you can see from the public right away. Anyway, we
I saved a lot of houses in San Juan, and a few houses that they had to come down.
You could have still authorized demolitions, but you would have had to.
I'm not gonna.
Okay, so where do we go from here?
Well, I'll just say that I am in favor of the project, but I'm not going to be rushed into it. I understand time is money for you, but not for me.
I make a motion, we pass it, get on with it.
Eric?
2-2.
No, not at this time. Not without, I mean, again, the color palettes, we literally got.
Well, when you get all the information, let's say you get it before this meeting, where are we going to meet to decide which colors we want? Other than being here to decide.
We get it in the staff, we get it in our binder.
You can come back with the colors, I mean, get them started.
Yeah, but we're still gonna have to come here
Right.
It's going to have to wait
decide
now
on the
till
colors. So
next
you're saying if we're gonna get the colors, we wanna get it 3 or 4 days in advance to have a pretty good decision on what colors we're gonna go with.
I want it in the binder. I want a complete report.
Yeah,
Did we pick the colors on 4th Street? No. The 2 houses?
We didn't get to see those plans, and we were supposed to. We're supposed to see all new construction. So, that's the way it's supposed to be.
I'm not as concerned about having 3 in 1. I mean, I would prefer to have all 4 of them brought so I can get an idea. It's got me a little, I mean, just to throw stuff here at the end that, I mean, it just.
It doesn't matter. He could build 1 house or 4 houses.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
But if we have all 4 here.
He's gonna get it to you. You don't have to have it right now to this meeting. You can bring it to the next meeting.
I understand that, but
Well,
my point being is that even if all 4 were here, what you're saying is that we can approve this and he can still build 1. I can approve all 4 and he can still build 1 a year every 10 years. So that's not really an argument as far as I'm concerned. I would prefer to see all 3 lots. If choosing this tonight isn't a part of this, I'm not prepared.
I mean, we don't want to be a deterrent to progress. But
No.
on the other hand, we have to make educated, informed decisions, and I don't think we have what we need tonight.
So are you in favor of continuing this discussion and this resolution for the next meeting?
Sure.
Is
Either that
Is
or-
that what the majority feels at this point in time?
That's
So
all I
if he brings the next
If next
lots
meeting, if we have a plan for Lot 3, and if we have the color scheme, then I think we would have pretty much a complete package.
I mean, everybody's got some good points here. I'm kind of on the fence at this point in time.
I just have one question, real quick. And
Yeah.
I'm in agreement with whatever you folks decide that you want to do. And I think that we're here to make a decision, so let's get over it. Either we're going to approve it or not approve it. But if I had 80 houses in front of you, would you want to see the color scheme for all 80 houses?
No.
And plans for all 80 houses?
How was Creek Bridge done?
They didn't pick any of the colors. The developer picks the colors out. I don't think we should be picking the colors of his house. He's qualified to do his own.
I don't think that's how
I
it
know, I can
works,
see it downtown in the historical district, but as far as houses go, if he wants to paint them houses white, blue, and green, that's fine.
though. Well, okay, that's what we
But
think.
that's not what it says
Yeah,
here.
and I'm just wondering, why do we put these conditions in here? And also, if we're going to get to this point and we're still not sure.
Well,
It seems like the conditions that we have put in here, it meets where we need to go with this as far as the requirements go. And when it comes to color, when it comes to design and what have you, I think
The developers.
we're thinking that we need to go with this.
The conditions aren't part of the resolution, are they? So you can approve the resolution without.
Well, the conditions were already
There's the A through H.
And you discussed those.
Right.
Yeah, I think to the last condition, 27, the applicant should submit a site and design application to the new homes for the 4 parcels to the Planning Commission prior to commencing construction. You know.
Well, then one of the conditions is we don't have all 4,
Right.
so we can't. That alone explains, right? That one in itself says we can't. We can't approve this.
You're reading to say that condition says all 4 has to be submitted at the same time? It doesn't. It
For the
says
new
his obligation is he will have to submit 4 plans to you for site design approval. He can do it one at a time, or he can do it 2 to 2. You know. What I'm saying is that he has his financial constraints economically dictates how he's going to build them and when he's going to build them.
So who's going to entertain a motion?
I think it's a good example about this paint issue. It's like you're building a house and you want to paint your house white. I don't like your house, and I'm sitting on this board, I'm going to tell you you can't paint your house white. That's a contractor's deal. He's not going to paint these houses ugly color. He's out to make good money and make it look nice.
Good. That's
And if you look at the design guidelines, you're looking at the style and the architecture to fit in with the area. You're not really looking at the colors and the plant selections. You want to make sure that it meets the landscaping design standards, the drip irrigation, you know.
Yeah, I
And
think
this
we've
being
asked,
here is
I think we've
confusing.
asked the applicant to adhere to all our requirements, and I think he's done that. At this point in time, I mean,
Design review approval by Planning Commission.
yeah.
So how do we approve it when we don't have a 4th
You
plan?
don't need that for
We got,
Okay, well, yeah, I guess we will agree to disagree.
Well, really, you don't need
which numbers
right
is that?
now.
Well, this is from the general plan, I think.
okay.
well,
Can
we
we
got
have
to
a-
make, we got to make a motion.
Can we have a special meeting and he brings the 4th plan to us? For you to get started? Because when you hold up a project like this, you hold up a lot of money.
You're another contractor.
Money is important in building.
Well, yes, but he knows that, and he got into this. Nobody forced him to get into
Nobody
this.
picked the colors on your house but the contractor.
Well, that's fine.
So we need to entertain a motion. Are we going to motion to continue this at a special meeting? Is that where we want to go with this? We need to give an applicant a good answer tonight. So where are we going with this?
So just so
I'm saying, along with Pat, that we are covered in all our conditions and everything that's part of the resolution that will allow this applicant to go forward with this development.
Right. I guess I'm just confused why we were even handed this tonight then. I mean, this didn't even
Maybe
come to
so.
us.
Maybe so.
Is that
still?
I mean, it's just a question.
But we can. Is that what we want to do? We got to come to a decision. Are we going to go to a special meeting? Or do we want to make a vote on this resolution now?
Try one more vote and then we'll see that.
So it's part, just so I'm clear,
Yeah.
Right.
is part of the resolution, nowhere in this resolution does it say specifically about house color. I mean, again, I look at this and now that I'm kind of reading through it, that's just more of a confusion point.
Right.
The fact that it was thrown on us last minute, it makes it even more confusing.
I think the public concerns, the applicant's concerns, whoever is going on this development, I think they are being addressed. And I don't think it's an open shut case where these homes will be built and we don't have anything further to say. I think we'll still have a lot to say about the landscape and how everything's going to be finished. And that'll be brought before the public as well.
Well, we've got the landscape.
And I don't think at this point in time that we should prevent it from going forward.
Well,
Because that's the way I keep seeing it.
if we were to vote right now, my vote would be no. But I wouldn't mind doing a special meeting, if that would work.
Give me half a second here as I rifle through these real quick. Because this right here, F, says that we are effectively proposed residential structure incorporates landscape design that meets the provisions and guidelines of drought-tolerant plants and trees. So we are kind of, we're seeing a landscape design, so we are effectively approving this.
It sounds like we need to have a
Yeah,
special
I mean,
meeting. No? Are you in favor?
yeah, I'm a little bummed we didn't have number 4 or number 3 as it is. We didn't have all 4. I'd love to see that one next meeting, and that's just my personal opinion. So, there's still a motion on the floor.
Go ahead and make the motion. Somebody.
Pat already motioned.
Made motion, okay, to go ahead with the vote. Okay, whereas the Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on July 7th, today, for the site plans and design review of the residential lots on San Antonio Street, and whereas the public hearing was conducted in accordance with Chapter 11 to 18 of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code, and whereas the Planning Commission received oral and written comments, public testimony on the site plans and design review of the lots considered for residential construction on San Antonio Street as part of minor subdivision MS 215-51. Whereas the Planning Commission, based on the public hearing testimony and the whole record brought before them, makes the following findings. A, the proposed residential structures are in a manner that respects the physical and environmental characteristics of each site. The proposed residential structures are consistent with the standards and requirements of the San Juan Bautista Municipal Code. The proposed residential structures is consistent with the goals and policies of the general plan and any applicable specific or community plans. The proposed residential structures are compatible with the surrounding character of the area in terms of architecture, design, materials, and colors. The proposed residential structures are located and configured on each site so as to be consistent and harmonious with the surrounding area. The proposed residential structure incorporates the landscaping design that meets the provisions and guidelines of drought tolerance plants, trees, and shrubbery, and the city's mandatory drought regulations. The proposed residential structures will not interfere with the use and enjoyment of neighboring homes and will promote health, safety, and welfare of the area. The existing and proposed public facility to accommodate the proposed residential structures, including sidewalks, streets, streetlights, fire hydrants, street and vehicular access, sanitary sewer facilities will be available to the sites. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Planning Commission of the City of San Juan Bautista hereby approves and site plans design review for the residential structure or San Antonio Street as part of the minor subdivision MS 2015-51. So who's going to make a motion? The motion is, who's going to make the resolution motion?
I make a motion we approve it.
In other words, a resolution of the Planning Commission on the City of San Juan Bautista approved the site plans and design review of the residential lots at 69 San Antonio Street, which is MS 2015-51, APN 0035-0013.
Yes.
Anybody second?
I second.
We'll have a roll.
Board Member Franco is absent. Commissioner Garrett.
Aye.
Commissioner Medeiros.
Aye.
Commissioner Gressel.
Aye.
Commissioner Guibert.
No.
Okay, with all members of the board voting, the motion as stated by the maker passes, let's see, so that would be 3, 1,
And one absence.
and 1 absent. And that would be resolution number 24.
That's it. Thank you all. Mr. Franco,
Number 24.
welcome back.
Like I said, the state said I had a conflict, so. Okay, the next item, we have action items. Consider resolution recommending amendment to Chapter 1103-1010 of the Municipal Code regarding zoning districts. Staff, you want to tell us what's happening, and we'll go from there.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the commission, this is kind of a follow-up of the last couple meetings where we looked at the type of lots that were being constructed in R1 zoning, and we showed some layouts and design flexibilities of 7,000, 6,000, and 5,000 square foot lots, which would be allowed in developing subdivisions and minor subdivisions throughout the city. The essence of the R1 category, and at the last meeting, the Planning Commission asked to say, let's identify the potential and where this could take place. And I have a map that's in your packet, and if you would take a look at that, and this is the parcels that were zoned, and everything that's in yellow is zoned R1, single-family residential. This resolution only pertains to R1 single-family residential lots. And what we're saying is that in the crosshatch areas, there's 29 parcels that we have identified that are potentially could be developed to where you have the flexibility to construct smaller lots other than 7,000 square foot lots. Some of the bigger parcels have that flexibility, and I've prepared as well as the matrix in there from the R1 7,000, R1 6, and R1 5, the setbacks, both front, rear, and side yards, and they vary. And then on the next page, I showed you how a major subdivision could articulate the type of lots rather than making them all standard boilerplate 70-foot wide lots. It could be variable from 70 to 60 to 50 and achieve a little bit of design diversity in that lot. And in addition there, I prepared 11-04-10, which only pertains to the residential district, R1. And I've said that in large subdivision lots where they have the ability to, and that would be 20 lots or more, I'm recommending that 78% of the lots be 7,000 square foot, that 16% or 15% be 6,000 square foot lots, and 7% of the lots be 5,000. And that the front setbacks would vary from 20 to 25 feet so that you would get a variety of different types of homes in a subdivision along a single street where they vary in size from a small 5,000 square foot lot up to a 7,000. This 5,000 square foot lot obviously is going to have a smaller footprint and a smaller home because the basic 40% lot coverage still applies to every lot, whether it's a 7,000, 6,000, or a 5,000. So at a 5,000 foot, a smaller footprint of the building will give you a smaller lot. Now that's, the building footprint includes the garage, and most garages are 21 by 22 or about 440 to 450 square feet. So you can see in a 5,000 square foot lot at a 40% minus 400, that house is going to be somewhere right about a 15 to a 1,600 square foot lot. And in today's construction, we have a number of contractors in the audience. In today's construction, a 1,600 square foot lot, building floor plan is going to sell for less than a 22 or 2300 square foot. So in the design format that I'm really telling you is that this flexibility, it has a certain amount of affordability built into it, where we're encouraging some smaller lots that are meld into the standard lots, and the affordability index will increase. So I'm certainly available for questions, and I'm sure there's going to be some members of the audience that have some questions.
Okay. I just want to hear from anybody in the public want to speak on this before we get into it? Okay. Are you a developer?
He's Carson Clower.
Okay, no. You're a builder?
No.
Oh,
Realtor.
okay.
He's a real estate agent.
I'd like to build something, but...
No, the reason I'm asking is because I'm looking for comments, from people who are in the trades doing this.
Absolutely.
And in your case, selling these things. And if you or say the real estate board said, hey, this is never going to fly, I'd want to know that now.
Yeah.
So the commission could say, hey, if the guys in the business say it can't be done, we should be looking, what does it take to make it happen?
But you're accepting all public comment on this item?
Pardon?
You are accepting
Oh,
public
yeah.
comment?
Yeah, I just thought if anybody wanted to make a quick comment before we got into it. So,
I'll try to keep it quick. I'm Carson Clower, 261 Promise Way in Hollister. I come to you in a dual capacity as a realtor with Nino Real Estate and also a city council member in Hollister.
Oh.
So I have it from two different angles here. At all times, housing variety is very important. Specifically in San Juan Bautista, you get about a lack of growth for as long as I've been alive. And I'm sure you're not meeting your state mandated growth, and this is one way that you can kind of get into that. To me, density is the future, and it really it takes a lot of the load off of the city, because what happens is if you take a lot that's let's say it's 10,000 square foot lot, if we build one house on it and then we sell it, that house is probably going to sell for about $550 today. But if you split that into two parcels of 5,000 square feet each, you build smaller houses on them, those are probably still going to sell for about $475. So now you're up near $1 million as opposed to $550. That's going to help you with your property taxes, so that's helping the county, it's helping the city. It also brings more people into the city to help you with your sales tax base. That's huge. And the third thing is, when you bring all these people a little bit closer together, it takes the load off of the city in terms of the maintenance of the public right-of-way. So you're not worrying about a street that's, let's say, 70 feet long for each family. It's a 45-foot street that you're taking care of. And that's a big deal, because you know as well as I know that we can't afford to take care of our roads as they are right now. So that's a big thing. Smaller lots mean smaller houses, which means lower prices. So as far as affordability goes, you're not talking about a huge difference, but I have information, I can give you the packets right now, that the median family in San Juan Bautista, there you go. Median family in San Juan Bautista makes $53,000 a year. To be able to afford your average house that's being sold in San Juan Bautista, you're talking about $75,000 a year to be able to afford the average house. So your average person cannot afford to buy your average house. Now, I don't think that everybody should be able to buy a house because it's not feasible, but it should be between 50 and 55%. So there's no way that you're going to hit this if your average family cannot afford to buy the average house. This will hopefully bring it down a little bit. One of the problems with construction is that builders try to stay away from HOAs because of the litigation that always occurs. It's a given that if you build something that has an HOA, the builder's going to get sued. So that's why you're not seeing the townhouses, you're not seeing the condos. This is another option that can bring the density in. Something that we've done that happens in every new subdivision in Hollister is a performance overlay zone, so that as long as you're meeting your density requirements for the whole project, you can build the lots as small as you'd like, and you have more open space for the community. Personally, I just bought a house that has a 5,500 square foot lot. The backyard is still huge, and they put a 2,100 square foot house on it, and the backyard is still huge. What happens is when you have a smaller lot, you take away the frontage in front of the house, you bring the setbacks in, that decreases the amount of space that no one's really using their front yards anyways. So then you can afford to have a smaller lot and you still get that same yard, the same backyard, which is what people really want. Front yards look nice, but they don't always get maintained, and people don't use them nearly as much as their backyards. I would just kind of ask you guys to look over the information that's been provided. That's information that was provided by Pauline Amstutz, one of the most respected lenders here in San Mateo County. It really breaks it down as far as median income and what you can afford, and it does show that we've kind of outpaced our average family here in San Mateo County. And it's the same in Hollister, it's the same in San Juan Bautista, it's all San Mateo County and a lot of the surrounding counties as well. I would hope that you would move forward with this ordinance, because having smaller lots gives you more options, and it'll give more opportunity for the people of the city. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate your comments.
I was going to ask a question.
Oh.
You were talking about state mandate. Could you talk more about that?
I'm not the expert on that, but I did review your general plan, and I believe it's a 3% growth, state mandated, and I don't think you guys have hit that for about 20 years.
Well,
We're talking about the housing element.
Yes, but
He's talking about the
fair share allocation.
The RENA housing requirement that the state puts on, and the city of San Juan is not meeting that need as well as the county. Hollister's doing a little bit better job.
affordability is a struggle overall,
Yeah.
and with redevelopment going away, there's no quick fix. There's no easy way to do it. You kind of have to leave it in the private institutions' hands to be able to do it for you, because in Hollister we can't do it. San Mateo County hasn't done it probably forever. So I imagine that your situation is kind of the same with having a smaller tax base.
Well, thank you. I truly appreciate the fact you're coming up with, like I said, from the business, the guys who do the work side.
Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay.
I think, Donna Silva.
Hi, good evening. Donna Perez Silva. I am actually a past resident of San Juan Bautista. Grew up here. Currently live in Hollister. My folks still live here. I have some family still here as well. I'm just going to piggyback off of what Carson was talking to you about. It's true. We really do need some more housing here, more affordable housing. Personally, I wasn't able to purchase here when we were ready to buy, because there wasn't availability of homes at the time, and especially anything that was affordable for us. And so honestly, I'm in favor of that, of the growth here in San Juan Bautista. It would be nice to be able to come back here if I could. So I just kind of wanted to say I'm in favor of it, and also because I do have buyers that are looking, that grew up here and want to stay here. And it would be much appreciated if you would all consider it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Carl Long.
Thank you, members of the Planning Commission. I too support infill housing and affordability. I do have a question though. In looking at this map with all the yellow, which says parcels in R1 with subdivision ability, right now we have a minimum 7,000 square foot lot
residential.
requirement. Yeah, for residential. So there's no way somebody could subdivide that into 2 lots, could they? Because the minimum is 5,000 square feet, and they would be left with 3,000.
I don't think it's they're not talking about anything under 10,000 square foot. If there's a parcel that is 10,000 square foot or larger,
Yeah.
You couldn't subdivide that into 2 7,000 square foot parcels, but you could take a 10,000 square foot lot, divide it into 2 5,000 square foot lots, and put 2
Right.
homes on it.
But I'm looking at this map, and like
There's
in
a
my
lot of
block,
yellow.
and my lot is highlighted yellow, but it's just under 7,000 square feet. So it was my understanding this map showed all the properties that could be subdivision.
In the yellow, it shows all lots that are zoned R1. The
Okay.
crosshatch are all lots that are greater than 7,000 square feet.
I see, okay. So only the crosshatched
Okay.
ones would be
Would be
eligible.
applicable to a division,
Okay.
something less than 7,000 square feet.
Okay, but the others could still build a second unit if they wanted to on their property,
Yeah,
as
yeah.
long as they meet.
Like the granny, they call it
The
granny
granny
unit.
units, right. And I just wanted to clarify something about the 3% growth. Department of Housing and Community Development promotes the 3% growth, but you have to be able to meet it with the zoning regulations and all of that, but you don't actually have to build it. You just have to be able to meet that
Make the
goal.
potential for it to happen.
The potential. Anyway, just wanted to clarify that.
And I think beyond just the potential, I think we'd like to make it work because, like you said, testimony from three people now, there are folks out there who want to live here.
Right,
And
and
can't
I think
afford it.
infill is the way to go. That way we can keep our community compact and not, spread out and become like suburbia.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is anybody else in the public?
Yes, I have Jason Noble.
Okay.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Jason Noble. I live at 855 Bellotto Road in Trespinos, but I am married to a San Juan girl, Carolyn Columber. I wanted to encourage you to adopt this resolution tonight. I also wanted to get up here behind Carson and Donna and say some really smart things, but they took most of them already.
We'll pretend we didn't hear it.
Well, Don will speak up. I did want to point out that this isn't something entirely new, that currently in the city of Hollister, I can think of 3 projects right now that are under tentative map proposal that are of smaller lot. Portions of the Santana Ranch that was adopted out off of Fairview Road also has a mix of some smaller lots within it. I think it was under, as Carson stated, the performance overlay provision. If you're, on Monterey Street in Gilroy, as you come down from Rosso's Furniture in the Theater, there's a current project being built out there by KB Homes. That's also a smaller lot. So while it's something that's relatively new to San Juan that you're considering, it's obviously been taken in and its arms been put around by other communities that see that this is something that, for all the reasons they stated before, you create. I don't want to confuse it with the term affordable housing, just because that has a different connotation, but certainly something that people can afford to purchase. And at the same time, as Carson pointed out, they still have a reasonable sized backyard to throw the ball with their child and do good family events. So I just want to encourage you to adopt this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the reason I let the public go first is that this isn't the first time this has come up. So everybody's had a chance to look at it, and I just wanted to get public comments ahead of time before we start going into more discussion, which you'll be able to follow afterwards. Okay, Commissioners, we've got a situation here where I see this as a cutting-edge technology, so to speak. To have a flexibility with different lot sizes that can be built as long as it didn't impact the existing neighborhoods. This would come in real handy also with larger lot developments. Somebody come up with a new development and say, look, we'd like to have a mixture. And I think with the backgrounds you've got, good road patterns, you could have a lot of nice houses in there. And it wouldn't look like a brand new major subdivision with just, two plans, this way or that way. You'd be able to have, well, even if you did, because the fact of the way they're laid out, separated, it would be a lot nicer development, and it would look more in tradition, I think, of what San Juan was all about. Where I worked in my previous lives, we had one major development along Salinas Highway where instead of having a straight 30-foot front yard setback, it went back to 27, 28, 29, 27. So when you look down, you didn't have one straight wall of housing. You had a flexibility. And again, this is diversity. Now, the only thing I'm going to be looking for in the big picture is that this is all done to code and the right people are making the right decisions. And that's where I'm going to start. Commissioners, you want to have any opening comments?
The only thing I would suggest on the smaller lots that we keep the single-story houses.
Again, those are good points.
Keep them what?
Single.
Single story.
Single story.
Any others? Comments?
Well,
Mr. Gutsa.
I think it definitely gives more affordable options as opposed to affordable housing. That's what you were trying to stay away from. And I think it definitely gives more affordable options. It also gives the owners of larger lots more options on what to do with their lot. They've got a larger lot. Now they're not less than 14,000, but more than 10,000, where they're kind of stuck in the what do I do phase. This gives them now more options on what to do to be able to develop and split it. Yeah.
You still have the option of the granny unit.
Sure.
And that can't be sold off. That's got to be part of your property. But that's another option. That becomes affordable housing. Again, somebody has a big lot, 12,000 feet, and we have some big ones out there. That could be a nice cut. And I would expect to see some flag lots if everything's in the front.
Yes.
See, there's a difference between a building site and a lot of record. A lot of record is 4 lines on a page. A building site is that the back half has to be flat and the front half is flat. Why would you go make 2 skinny lots? You'd have a flag lot. Build a house on the flat back, there's a property line. Build a house on the front flat, that's a property line. And again, this gives us something we don't have, and that's this flexibility. And by the way, it's just so there's no hard feelings here, I have no problem with the term affordable housing, because that's what we're dealing with. People who are working to build 2 businesses, holding off on having children because they want to have enough to buy. They got the money, but they don't have what it takes to buy. And so even with people who are talking about farm worker people, they got full-time work, they got jobs, they got disposable income, they would like to get into housing. And some of them can, some of them can't. So you put apartments for some people, and they get nice apartments. You put garden apartments, that's even nicer. You have affordable, you have sales. But I think the whole package is what makes up the community. Mr. Guibert.
Mr. Guibert?
Commissioner.
Oh. I don't have a problem with this. I do see there'll be a lot of flag lots, which is okay. There are some lots, like the Hunt House on First Street. I mean, traditionally, historically, the lots were big, and it's kind of sad to see that they'll go, but it's time. So just imagine that house on First Street with the old schoolhouse. They could subdivide.
Where was that on First Street? I'm new here.
Well, there's these 2.
You're talking about the whole...
The blue and white, yeah. And then the one...
Yeah, it's only 8,000 square feet of that.
So they could do it.
No, because you have 5,000 minimum.
Okay. But the Hunt House, that's almost...
Which
like
one?
The Hunt House, it's yellow. It's on First and Church, or First and North. But that one, you could access from either side, I think.
Yeah.
So that
would
corner lot.
Yeah.
That was almost 13,000 square feet.
Yeah.
Also, you have to come under consideration, they're gonna have to come in front of it for split, because if they can't get a road back to that house, they're not gonna be able to split that.
Yeah.
See, these are all the things that,
Yeah.
this doesn't guarantee anybody's going to do anything.
Right.
You come to the planning commission, and this isn't what we do favors. We follow the law here.
Right.
Because it's too much at stake. The future of San Juan Bautista is what the culture of what's going to look like. It's going to be determined by stuff like this. If we do sloppy work here, we're going to get sloppy applications and probably process them sloppily. So this commission has to say, we know who's in charge, because if you have to ask, it ain't you. We know who's in charge, and we're working for the betterment of the community.
And I think that's the approach that I was trying to show you is you just give them the availability to address that. They've got to ultimately come to you and say, oh yeah, I have a lot that's 11,000 square feet. Can I split it? Yeah. Then he has to go through and it has to fit the neighborhood. He's got a lot of legwork to do there, but it has the potential to do it.
There's a good example, was that empty lot up by you on 7th Street. They tried to put 4 homes in there, and they shot them down.
Yeah, that's... See, it isn't just... Again, it goes back to that lot of record, versus building sites. And I'm saying if somebody wants to buy 2 lots side by side and say, you know, I don't have enough to split these, but if I do buy 2 of them, I can make 3. 5, 5, 5. That's another option that we're supporting that kind of an action. See, and again, if it doesn't fit the neighborhood, I mean, if a guy wants to put 3-story building, forget it. This is San Juan Bautista. So, Commissioner Medeiros.
Yeah, I'm in favor of retaining our youth, seeing that they have a place to live here in San Juan Bautista. Because I was beginning to feel that maybe I have to move out before I can have one of my kids move in. So,
How about a grandpappy unit?
Yeah, granted. But I can see that this will help us, and the flexibility is there. It's really important for our community. Well, the only thing is that we talked about traffic and more people, you know, as far as San Juan Bautista is concerned, because that's what we're doing here. So that's going to be interesting how that's going to unfold.
Well, they're going to have parking,
you know,
because most of our streets are hurting right now for
right.
parking.
So, but when it comes for businesses, when it comes for taxes and everything else that goes along with this, I'm really for it.
So we got to do something you got a city manager here who has to tell people, I like you, but you can't come in. We tried, you know, this commission acted on the formula food ordinance. We revoked it. Council revoked it. We got sued. We couldn't afford to fight it. So we had to reverse our decisions. That's what the manager has to tell potential businesses. We love you, but they don't want you here. I don't want to be part of that commission. I want to say, hey, if it ain't quality, it ain't San Juan Bautista. That's the only reason I'd want to deny something, because you don't fit here. But not just because, you know, it's a protectionism or alienation or whatever. Anyway, that's kind of my soapbox. So,
Mr. Chair, could I ask Commissioner Garrett a point of clarification?
Do you want to answer a question, sir? I'm sure he does.
Did you say that on the smaller lots, only single-story homes could be built? Yes. My only concern with that is that San Juan Bautista is not entirely flat, and as Roger can attest from many, many years of designing and engineering on plans, that more builders today are doing the post-tension slab foundations, and there is a cost savings to doing 2 stories. Could I at least ask that in the adoption of the resolution that you encourage single story, but it's not a steadfast rule that they all be single story? If you would consider that, please.
Well, in some cases, you wouldn't even get the first building. I mean, if it doesn't fit the neighborhood.
Yeah, it'll be on a case-by-case, I think.
See, again, this is going to make a lot of business for the commission, but again, you're going to see the strength of the commission. Are they for the city? Or is it just some bully comes up, yells and screams, and gets what he wants? That's not going to happen while I'm chairman. So I want to see this work. There's a lot of conditions notes back here, and one of the things I see is that it gives an awful lot of power to the commission, which I don't think the commission should have. I think a lot of decisions, final decisions, to be made at the council level. They're the ones who make the laws. You know, they make the laws. We process in accordance with those laws. We run them up there, and they say, okay, you're right, it's in accordance with, and they sign it off. If it isn't, it comes back to us, and won't be the first time. But I don't think the Planning Commission ought to be having final say on major decisions like splitting lots.
Can I ask Roger, what are the size of them 2 lots that we split down there within 5,000 feet? They're a little under, I think.
Yeah, that was...
See, they got some nice little homes.
Yeah, nice little homes in
They're
there.
2 stories high, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
They could build these nice little 2-story, single-floor houses, and they're affordable houses.
Yeah.
See, it's also going to be affordable. As soon as you start going up, it's going to cost more.
More money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think I pointed out to the chairman there that I had added item 13 down the footnote of the zoning matrix, where the Planning Commission may grant a lot division of R1 and R1 6,000, 5,000 on any lot within the R1 single-family zoning districts on a case-by-case basis based upon the consideration of topographical, surrounding neighborhoods, design diversities, economic constraints, and housing needs. And so I'm
So
just
that-
trying to frame
we have
that.
the option.
Yeah.
Yeah.
mhm.
So if, for instance, somebody wanted to put a two-story home and it happened to fit, that gives you the option of saying, yes, it can, or if it doesn't, then you say it really doesn't fit.
And each case is a case-by-case basis, and the planning commission, when you look at a division of say 11,000 square foot lot, and he wants to put a 6 and a 5, you will take a look at that and say, hey, look at the topography. I can have a single story here and maybe a 2-story here, and it'll fit into the overall, because next door is a 2-story and a single, you know.
So a good example is going to be that, like the house, the property next to you, they wanted to split into 3 lots. They put a 2-story house in front of a single-story house.
These are things we have to look at. But like I said, if you have a good team and a good support staff, a good planning team and a good support staff, you can really go through this stuff and really build the city the way you want it. So anyway, in addition to, I'm sorry. I did say you could speak afterwards. Yes.
Sorry, just want to make a point. I think that we'd be kind of missing a major point if we push everybody toward doing single stories on smaller lots, because when you squeeze the lot down, you're squeezing the buildable area by a lot. You're losing about 60% of that difference. So if I have a single story that's for sale, everybody can buy it because it fits the physical ability of the buyers. Now, what happens is, if you want to keep the youth here and you have a 28-year-old who's just got married, had their first kid, they're going up against 65-year-olds who want to move into San Juan Bautista, and they got their pockets full and they want to come down here, and it's just not going to happen. That's the first thing. The second thing is, I may be wrong, but I believe that cost per square foot on a 2-story house is a lot less than cost per square foot on a single-story house, because you have less foundation and you have less roof line. So I think if the commission would like to kind of, on a case-by-case basis, look at each one and say, you know what, it's all single stories here, it should be a single story, then yes, but don't throw out 2 stories, because that's the majority of the houses that are being built on these small lots are 2 stories, and when I say majority, I mean like 95%.
Well, thank you. That's good. Again, I'm just glad to get all this food for thought. We got a long ways to go with this thing, because you've got a general plan, and we've got to be consistent with the general plan. And if the general plan doesn't have the proper statements that would allow this kind of flexibility, then we can't go through with it. So we have to amend the general plan, then we have to write redo the zoning ordinance, probably create new overlay zoning ordinances, or R5, R6, and R7, as opposed to just having one R7. So, but again, it's good to discuss it, get it out, and get enough ideas for staff to keep cranking this thing out.
We are not at the point to...
No way.
Yeah, no way.
But I mean, look at the public comment you got tonight. This was valuable.
Fantastic. I know last month we had next to nothing, and this month...
I wish more folks would come down and get involved with this thing. We have public hearings for a reason, to let people come down. And good evening, sir.
Hi, John Freeman, 22 North Street, San Juan. Sorry, I didn't get the little thing to you. I'd like to remind the Planning Commission that I live on a smaller 2-story lot, and it works fine. Eric has a very similar living condition. So I'm agreeing with Mr. Flower that I think it's the way to go on smaller lots. Because your bedrooms and stuff get narrower. I think that's what he's trying to say, and so you do need the extra room.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, commissioners, any good comments? Because I think staff wants all we can give them.
Or we have a resolution.
There's no way we can do that tonight. No way. This thing isn't even in a form ready to go. We got to work on all these comments in here to make sure that we put the decision making where it belongs.
I think we also need to look at, we've got a new general plan coming up in the next 3-4 months, give or take, and how does it fit into that new? Because I think it would be somewhat foolish to sign this now to an old plan and not even consider the new one. That would be silly
Mm-hmm.
at best.
But that new plan should be, again, it's going to kick off from probably this year.
Yep.
And we want to give them the direction to keep going.
Well, I guess we need the strategic plan needs to review that. Is that where that would go?
You can take that over there. Because at this point, we're only dealing with the planning commission. Our charge is to develop a general plan.
Right.
Route that to council. And that's approved as policy. And then we do zoning ordinances or ordinances to implement that. Those are generated here, and the council has to have final say on them. But like I said, I'm glad that I did it this way, that getting public comment, since it has been on the agenda, and I thank you for showing up and for commenting. So, anybody else want to say anything else? Staff, anything we can give you to keep working with us?
No, I think we got a lot of good comments and everything, and we're going to kind of massage this, and we'll be bringing it back to you at our next regular meeting with a lot of the changes, and we can review it.
If you notice in our packet, we've got some samples of housing of the different size lots. And like I said, I came from Pacific Grove, and 30 by 60 was the standard. I was lucky. I had 2 lots, 60 by 60. And I had a single car garage, too.
Wow.
Okay. If there's no other comments on that one, we'll move to the next item. Okay. The next item being, consider amending the zoning map for the, we did that. That's this one.
We've got the approval of the minutes.
Okay. 6C came up as the approval of the minutes.
Oh, wait, what about 6B?
That's for the brewery, which got postponed.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute.
We still need to.
We still need to.
Okay, let's go to 6B. Consider the request for the revision to site and design approval at 104 The Alameda, the brewery project. The applicant is Hipólito Cerda. We were to get a report from the Historic Resources Board. No report is forthcoming, so I would entertain a motion for continuance.
I move that we continue.
I second.
Okay. Staff, can you follow up on that and tell the applicant we're waiting for him?
Okay. So do.
Okay, the next one then, now we're going to go to 6C, the minutes of the meeting of May 5th, 2015. There were some comments.
Yeah,
You weren't there.
I believe that was my inaugural planning commission
And
meeting.
you were here.
Eric who?
So present, yeah, it doesn't, that's okay.
Staff isn't used to all these new names.
I
you know.
understand it. It's not the easiest one to spell or pronounce.
I've already done that to you, but I made the change.
Oh,
Item E
Okay, item E.
should be La Calavera. Calavera.
E what, 6E, 5E?
5E.
Oh, CALA?
Yeah, it's in the second
Yeah,
paragraph, it's not correct. The third paragraph is correct.
I got a question for that.
Oh, Calavera, that's right, Calavera, yeah. I missed that. Good.
Why is it called Calavera? I thought it was Washington Street Theater.
I heard that it was.
Some places picked up the name La Calavera.
And well, we're living in a town with historical importance here. And all of a sudden, a name change comes along and it's okay?
Do you know, Cara? Richard? John, do you know?
I think, is that where the theatrical first went?
Right.
Yeah. And they called it the Calavera.
Yeah, but before that, it was a theater. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, why was it built in the first place?
it was built to be a theater.
For,
Movies.
okay,
They
but it was
showed-
given a name for, because it was replicating something that was already there?
No.
No?
Larry Lushbaugh.
Yeah.
And his group had that built. And then,
They just called it Washington Theater.
Mr. The guy that has the restaurant there bought the property, and then he allowed the opera to perform there, and they named it Calavera. It sells. I don't know why.
Is that it?
That was my question.
Yeah,
Okay. At least, but yeah, I missed the spelling myself. Is that the only one?
yes.
Okay.
So, with those changes, I move that we accept the minutes of
Is there-
May 5th.
Is there a second to the motion?
I'm sorry, the second thing?
Oh, Commissioner Garrett, okay. I will call for have a vote.
Okay, Commissioner Guevara?
Aye.
Commissioner Garrett? Commissioner Medeiros?
Aye.
Commissioner Grossoff?
Aye.
Chairman Franco?
Aye.
All members of the commission being present, the motion is stated by the maker passes unanimously.
Okay, now we have discussion items, and there's about 6 of them. And basically, this is just reports from staff on particular items, not necessarily for action or business. Report on the status of Harvey Dudwell's project at 404-408 the Alameda.
It is progressing, it is moving through the court systems, and it looks like we will not get it until probably September, October.
Court.
It's in briefing right now.
Yeah, right, yeah.
I think one party's already finished and the other one hasn't.
Yeah.
Which means it's anything but brief.
That has been
For the judge.
Yeah.
That has been a year and a half, and this one you can't blame on the Planning Commission. Okay, general plan draft EIR update and comments received by June 30, 2015. Staff.
In the mandatory review period of the 45 days, we submitted the plans to the state clearinghouse and circulated it amongst the school districts and county. We got back 4 comments from AMBAG, the Department of Conservation, State of California, Department of Transportation, and then through the Native Americans Tribal Consultant. We forward those 2 and really forward them down to Cornelius with the Cal Poly environmental team that's pulling together the final environmental draft, and then it'll be back in front of you for approval, and then we can move on with the general plan.
Okay. Let's see. Harvey's lockup checklist compliance.
Yeah, I thought Harvey, is he here? No? Maybe he was, yeah. Just to kind of give you a breakdown there, when the city did the infrastructure project that started in 2008, 9, and then finished in 2010, a storm drain line was installed on 3rd Street between Monterey and North Street. And during the process, it severed the sewer lateral line to the Harvey's lockup. And they don't have a lot of usage, and has been flushing, but then it backed up, and they were having a hard time. And I've been over there a dozen times. We were trying to trace it, and finally he got a contractor and started digging up the concrete, in the floor, and they found that it went out to the 3rd Street, and we traced it clear out to there. We dug it down, and the contractor that put the storm drain in severed the sewer line, didn't even cap it, and then just backfilled it, and then the sewage has just been going into the underground base rock around the pipe and everything. So we explored this with Pavex, and we wrote a letter and asked them just as why didn't you bring this to our attention? And he informed us is that the inspector advised them to say, don't worry about it. They have another sewer lateral. Just leave it the way it is, and because it's not being active and used. And so they backfilled, and it's been that way since 2010.
Is there any documentation of that?
Mm-hmm. So they basically Pavex said that they had no responsibility because the building inspector that was the city had hired gave them the permission to just ignore it.
But my question is there any documentation that conversation happens? That's all a verbal?
Oh, verbal, yeah.
So this
Yeah.
really doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no. So in all this thing here, he has incurred about $17,000 worth of expenses, and he was all set to go. He called me and showed me the contract, and he was ready to start to complete the sprinkler system internally, that's off of 3rd Street, or excuse me, 2nd Street, and bring it in. and this thing cropped up, and so Steve has endured a lot of additional expense, and he wanted to come tonight and then let you know that his intent is to complete the sprinkler system, but right now, and so he's filed a complaint with the city for reimbursement, and I think Trish has got that, and we forwarded to our insurance carrier, and we're dealing with that.
This had nothing to do with what's going on down there. This has been going on for 9 years. The signs don't come up what they were supposed to be. The curb and gutter in the back's not finished. The fire sprinkler's not in. 9 years later.
Yeah, no, I agree, yeah. He started the sidewalk on 3rd Street.
We, the city of San Juan, if that building burned down tomorrow morning, we're in trouble for not pushing to get that fire sprinkler in 9 years. Any other city would not let this happen.
Well,
and it's time that this board make a decision what we're going to do.
Yeah, he's made a commitment to do it, and as soon as he
But
gets
he made
his...
it 8 years ago,
Yeah.
7 years ago, 6 years ago, and none of it's been done.
Well, I think the last year, you remember he installed a turnout on the thing, that was about a $9,000-$10,000 turnout, you know, from the 2nd Street side.
But
to
that,
put the head.
that's not the point.
No,
The
no,
point is, he agreed to do all this stuff. Any other city, you would not open that building until all that stuff is done.
Yeah, I don't know what the history is and the occupancy and everything, but I think he showed his intent to where he's going to do the things, but he has to do it according to his cash flow, and he's there. And so he's initiated the 3rd Street sidewalk. He's going to
He
complete
put a lot of money on the other side, put all new containers in there.
It seems like
for cars and buses.
that should have been part of his business plan. He should have known going into the project what his expenses would be. I mean, it's not the city's fault that he chose to do that. It's,
I mean, the sign on the front, the red sign is like this.
Yeah.
It's not the one they approved. The signs on the outside are the canvas, not supposed to be on there.
right. But that should come down now.
It's up to whatever you guys are going to do. I mean, I'm not going to say no more about it because I brought it up 4 or 5 times.
I've read through, I mean, I wasn't here 9 years ago to know what went on, but I've gone through the minutes for the last 7 or 8 or 9, and it seems to me like 3 years ago this was all brought up, 2 years ago it was all brought up, a year ago it was brought up. All due respect to him and his cash flow issue, this is something that just keeps dragging on.
He hasn't, to be correct, he has not ignored you. He has put the curb and gutter and sidewalk in on 2nd Street down there. He's concentrating on 3rd Street. And so he's done some work, you know, and, you know.
But I can understand that, but 2nd Street was done 2 or 3 years ago after the last time this came over successive months.
Exactly, yeah.
3rd Street was started Saturday morning.
Yes.
And
4 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that he is making progress, but in 9 years, the amount of progress, I mean,
0.
Yeah.
I'm with Amanda. This is something that he should have known going into it, and I'm disappointed that the city 8 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago didn't push the issue more.
Yeah.
And now we're left to...
This commission picked up the ball.
Yep.
Called him in there, was ready to do a revocation of the permit. Got him to do the big matrix of everything that was needed to be done. And he agreed to do it. But you're right.
If we would have been on the board then, it wouldn't be like it is right now.
No, it wouldn't have happened. We wouldn't. Because see, the bottom line is, you do not let a person occupy the new use until all the conditions of approval have been met.
That's right.
And this is, to me, is rock solid. You don't comply, you don't get your building permits. You know, if curb gutter and sidewalk isn't in there, don't even talk about a permit.
We're going through the same problem right now in the brewery because they changed all the papers.
No, we're not. We're going to stop it.
We can have them popped up.
He
I have no problem doing that.
He hasn't got occupancy.
Yeah, the only thing that he's gone forward with certain things that shouldn't have.
I've already told him that he will not get occupancy until he completes everything.
So we have to make a decision, what we got to do. Have the lawyer write him a letter?
revoke the permit?
Well, I would say is he was supposed to be here tonight, and he got detained, and...
He was here the last time, Roger,
Yeah.
and he told us the same thing. 4 years later, nothing was done until we kept pressure him to do it.
Can't the fire department cite him or something?
Well, it's up to the city to pass, they passed all the rules and regulations. The city's responsibility to make sure it's done. It's not done. 9 years later, it's not done.
Conditions of approval, you see the matrix, that's what
Yeah.
he's got to do.
Yeah.
That's what he should have done before the first storage went in there. If it was you, you would not have been able to put your stuff in their building until Roger says all conditions are complied with. You have to go back and take them home.
If you get somebody living in top in an apartment, that building catches fire, and there's no fire sprinklers that were supposed to be in there, if that person burns out, the city's gonna have a lawsuit.
Is anybody occupying that?
I think somebody's living up there in that little apartment.
Okay,
They just have a 1 hour fire season put in, I don't know if that's done yet.
Yeah, that's done.
You want to revoke the permit? It takes a public hearing.
I would say we have an attorney write him a letter and say, you know, you got X amount of time to finish.
How much time you want to give him? Let's be specific.
60 days.
I mean, we've given him 9 years.
30 days.
Right, exactly.
No, but I'm serious. If you want, you know, if a public hearing to revoke the permit doesn't shake somebody up, then that thing gets revoked, and have a chain put across it.
So if we do that, what happens? He has to shut everything down?
If you doesn't have a permit, you can't do anything in the building.
But it's already there, so he can't rent.
Well, it's got to come out, because there should be some each and every day a violation. As soon as your permit is revoked and you don't move that stuff out of there, then first of all, it's not on us, it's on him. And God help him if something does happen, but he has to start calling us.
What we should do is write him a letter and warn him the next meeting we have that's what's going to happen to him. We're going to revoke it.
Okay, this is the June, July.
It's July. So it's
Okay, he could be advised that at the September meeting, the Planning Commission intends to set a public hearing to consider revocation of permit if all conditions have not been complied with. That is one way of doing it.
60 days.
60 days. And that way, somebody has to come back and tell us why not. Like, and what first thing is, nobody should be living there to begin with. So again, it's, you know, if we're going to be going after permits and for compliance, this is how it's done. If you're not going to comply with the permit, we take it away.
Well, how many...
We've got a motel out there with all kinds of problems. Same thing.
Well, if we don't have Howry's lockup, what do we have? What do we got? What do we get?
You're right, but on the other hand, the purpose of putting in all those conditions is to say, Mr. Clower stood up here and we told him, here's all the conditions for what you did.
Built the house and I didn't quite finish it, moved into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would, to me, would be a true violation.
And maybe we should have prioritized in order of importance.
We did.
No.
4 years ago we brought all this.
That's what you're looking at.
Yeah.
That's
But
what you're looking
the
at.
sprinklers is like the most important
It's
thing.
got a timeline to it, too.
Well, bottom line is, somebody can come in and tell us a better plan or a more, hey, I kicked the guy out and we're going to do this, and that. We've done it in 60
We haven't
days.
entertained that. We haven't gotten that.
No.
We haven't.
We've talked about having
That's
him
not-
back here, and we haven't had him back here in a quarter.
That's for us to do, to find something else that we can work with?
Oh, you mean in the building itself?
Yeah.
Well, that makes it available to our realtors to find, say, hey, we've got a big building out here in San Juan Bautista, and if you want to use it for this, comply with the condition permits. That's the first thing you do. See, somebody could come in, right? If this was vacant, somebody could come in, okay, say you come in and say, I'd like to open up a storage unit, and I hear you have an empty building out there that's been there.
Then we need to go in that direction.
And we can say, okay, but here's a condition of approval, and the reason it's vacant is this stuff wasn't done, and public health and safety is involved here.
Any other city would have never let this go this far.
So we need to find a way to expedite that to make sure we get a conclusion. So
I think
we can't do it, we got to get somebody else to do it.
Our staff to have a letter have the attorney write a letter. The fact that at the September meeting is our intent to get a public hearing for revocation if we don't hear something.
Yeah.
And if the attorney says you can't do it because, then I think the attorney ought to be over here to tell us why.
Exactly.
I mean, why bother having ordinances and laws if you're not going to enforce them?
We should have the attorney here at that meeting too.
September 1st,
September 1st?
which is.
Is that Labor Day weekend?
No, that's,
It's the first Tuesday of September.
Okay.
David gives a call on Monday.
But I mean, the thing is, we've had all these complaints, and it's not just from us, we're getting it from the audience. So if we are really serious about turning the city around,
We need to, well, we've got to stick by.
we got to walk
what
our
it
talk.
is.
And bottom line is, what's the basis for doing this? You took an oath of office to uphold all these various ordinances and laws. The permit carries the force of law because it is based on an ordinance. So we're saying non-compliance is a violation of the law, and therefore, if nobody's going to comply, we have to take out the disease.
Because he agreed to do all the stuff there at the planning commission.
I mean, I remember the meeting, I understand about the drain pipe. That really has nothing to do.
Right. You should have had the other things done already.
Yep.
So are we asking the staff to take?
Okay.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
Oh, public comment. That's right. You do get. Are you truly public?
I almost forgot what I was going to say.
Do you live in this town?
Richard Potts, 93 4th Street.
And he lives in this town, I understand.
He was born
I don't
here.
want to repeat everything you guys said, but yes, Pat hit it right on the head. We've let this guy go on for 9 years. We were complaining about that big sign he had in front that said an island registered heifer, thoroughbred horses. That thing was, he repainted it recently, but initially it said Heifers and all that stuff. He put his own sign on it without permission, okay? It completely deteriorated. Since the last month, he redid it, okay? No permit. Says Harvey's Locker again. Same darn thing, nobody caught it. Those temporary yellow banners he's got, those are temporary signs. We have an ordinance, we can't allow temporary signs for 6, 7 years, you know. Mr. Frankel said, well, we inherited a lot of these problems. Yes, you did inherit them, and I know it's tough, but your job is to enforce whatever happened now or in the past. That's your jobs. So don't tell me that you inherited it. Your job is to take care of what has to be taken care of, whether it was 10 years ago or yesterday or tomorrow. And you have to take the pressure off of Roger. You guys don't say, okay, you got to do it, period. Okay, you leave it up to Roger. Roger's got to go there and try to get this guy to do stuff with no teeth. You guys aren't saying, hey, Roger, we direct you to tell this guy, you got 6 months to take care of it, and that's it, period. Our City Planning Commission mandates that. You have to tell Roger that. Here he is out by himself trying to take care of the problems.
But that is Roger's job when it was passed. He inherited the rest too, but he was supposed to see that it was done.
Yeah, but
That
you
it
guys,
was done.
okay, planning commissions before yours also had the same problem. But somebody has to say, Roger, we want this done.
We have told Roger.
That's what we're doing now, yeah.
Okay, you guys gonna vote on it?
Well, but you heard what we're talking about.
Yes.
A letter by the attorney
Right.
to the applicant.
Yeah, I've heard this for 7 years, same thing.
No.
Well, I wasn't here. I'm a newbie.
Okay.
But anyway, you can see that we're trying.
Yeah, there's other issues going on there. If you look at the corner of.
If you give me a list of them, we'll just chart them up.
Monterey Church, you look in the corner of that foundation, it's sitting in midair. It has no foundation.
Yep.
He's got another business that I'm sure you guys aren't aware of. On the backside of the building on Church Street, there's 2 big sliding doors. There's some kind of a shop in there. There's a guy building stuff in there. And, you know, he's violating that too. He's constantly getting away with what he can get away with, and this is doing it on purpose. The last time you guys gave him hell and said he had to do something or other, he was in the back laughing because you didn't enforce it. He got away with it and he was laughing.
Well,
that's what we're dealing with. Thank you.
Let's go for it. Okay, I didn't realize we had another business. I think that rather than... okay, The chair entertains a motion to direct staff to to send a letter to the city attorney asking him or her, to notify the applicant that the Planning Commission intends to hold a public hearing to consider revocation of use permit such and such, period. And
If conditions
I'd
are.
like to have the attorney here.
for lack of compliance, yeah. And like I said, this is not, because of the vote, it's not an option to staff to make a decision on this thing. It's our decision as to how we want to handle it. So, the letter, so that's the motion I would entertain. The letter, or whatever communication goes between the city hall and the city attorney. But the city attorney to write a letter to the applicant advising him or her, him and her, whatever, that the commission is going to hold a public hearing to consider revocation of use permit such and such for violation, the violation of non-compliance, of using the property without complying with the conditions of approval, and quoting that this is a public health and safety measure and we must act on it immediately. We've waited long enough. So,
This isn't an action item.
It's not an action, it's only a discussion.
oh God,
You sounded great though.
okay, so we won't have to vote on it, but you get, okay. Let's say, is there a consensus on this item?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Staff, there's a consensus of the commission that the attorney be asked to send a letter to the applicant, as I noted here. Can you handle that?
Will do.
Okay, and like I said, it doesn't have to be anything about staff. The commission will do this. And might notify a few realtors if it doesn't look like it's going to go through. Because the fact that it's being used for that, somebody could pick it up, clean it up, comply, and man, there's no public hearing to go. I'll sign the permit and I'm in.
And it'll come back to us as a discussion item in the next meeting.
Well,
Discussion or?
put it down for action in
We don't
case we
need
need.
action, do we?
At the next meeting?
Do you want to?
Yeah, just
What action are you going to take?
I don't know. Maybe the city attorney wants to say something about it and we want to respond.
So it's a discussion.
In September or?
Next meeting, August.
August?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to have it so that we can talk about it and do what's needed to be done. I mean, this will be a first for us. For really, usually we get compliance.
Then you can see where we're standing.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect.
Okay.
Closures.
Like I said, we have constantly told folks we're going to get compliance, and if we don't do it, we shouldn't be here. Okay. We have another item here. It's called Hillside Regulations, staff.
From time to time, we've talked about the view shed on the hills directly to the south of San Juan Bautista. The San Benito County has a hillside ordinance. The city of San Juan does not. We've kind of been wrestling with that. If we do get some pressure for some development on the hills there, we should be prepared to address it. And what we'd like to do is to develop some type of a hillside coverage on those hills, bring it back to you and have some input, hold some hearings, and then we can make some recommendations to City Council and adopt an ordinance. Rudy and I have accumulated several documents from other cities, and so just to...
The county has one now, right?
County has one
Can't be
now.
on the ridges.
Yeah, right.
See, I think it was for us, everybody looks down in downtown, the Mission, everything like that. But what if you're down at the Mission looking up, and you got all this stuff, and then development on hillsides is really, really hedgy. Because if you don't do it right, you slide down. And some places you shouldn't be building at all. And I hate to have to be arguing with somebody, well, the law says I can build on this lot, even though it looks like this. Dodo birds wouldn't make it. And so I think this is long overdue. Because if we've got one, the county starts doing anything in our view shed, we say, hey, help us enforce ours. Is our general plan strong enough to support a hillside ordinance?
The general plan, the existing
Pro-
one's not, but the new one is.
The new one, okay,
Yeah,
that's
right.
critical, because if
Yeah.
it doesn't, we'd have to be talking about
Yeah.
what kind of amendment we'd make for it.
And then on the back side of my staff report, I just gave you some intent, purpose, and applicability, and just some PowerPoints of what I thought should be, in terms of the thing. All locations that have slopes greater than 20% or greater. Locations along the view shed, the corridor of the Highway 156, Salinas Grade Road, San Juan Canyon Road, and the San Juan Highway. All locations that are visible from the nearest point along said view shed corridor of a 1/2 mile in either directions from the view shed corridor. And then these regulations do not affect any agricultural use permitted in any agricultural zone district or any development approved as part of an adopted specific plan of the general plan.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're long overdue. And Roger, at what point, what slope would you stop just normal building?
Well, in Santa Clara County, their saying is that when you have a road that exceeds 15%, for fire engines, they say that they're not only going to allow it. You can exceed 15% up to 20% for short durations, less than 200 feet.
That's short.
For example, there's a couple houses underneath the bridge, and you go around the corner, and you got the driveway that goes straight up like this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Upline.
Yeah. I guess this could probably be handled with an overlay zone. Just, all these identified areas, if you fall in that, just a whole new set of regulations comes in. And even when you engineer them, down at Big Sur, off of the Pfeiffer Ridge, if the house was properly engineered, and it's sliding, and they can't use it.
That happened out here, off of School Road, there's a house on 18 acres, and the whole 18 acres dropped right out of the
Oh,
side.
wow.
With a log house built on it.
Swindell said.
So that's why we do environmental impact reports.
Bigger, deeper pilings next time.
Okay.
What a mess.
I like that. Yeah, okay. I think if we have one, we're able to tell anybody else who's around us, we've got one, and we expect to have the same respect that we're going to give you guys. And this at least it shows we care. Okay, the city's historic streetscape. That was discussed at the, was that discussed?
Historic resources.
Is there a need to continue that discussion?
I'll bring some language at the next meeting.
Okay, do you want us to keep this at the
Yeah.
Historic Resources Board first and then resolve it there, then bring it to the Planning Commission? Okay, so we'll let that one go, and so we'll take this one off, and at the time that you're ready to make a presentation
yeah.
from the HRB, we'll put it on the Planning Commission agenda. Okay, if you need any help, let us know.
Okay.
Strategic Planning Committee report, and I believe Commissioner Beresoff is our key person there.
I've got some highlights. John can correct me if I mess this up too much. Highlights is the upgrades to the landscape of the school is on hold for the moment. They actually got fined by the city. They're in a kind of a weird area. They're on their own well, but because they're in the city of San Juan Bautista, they fall to our watering restriction.
Oh, this is the San Juan School?
The San Juan School. So they actually received a fine. I don't know how that, I know there was going to maybe.
I think they got a notice, yeah.
It was just a warning?
Yeah.
Okay. But they've, I believe they've decided to wait until spring of 2016 in order to redo the lawn structures. They had originally thought about doing it here more short term, but it's probably going to push out for various reasons. The general plan for additions and corrections for the public was June 30th. There were, what, 4 from the public, Roger? Yeah. And the general plan did meet the EIR, or there was a meeting held for the EIR draft. I thought it was a great meeting. I thought it was a fantastic meeting over there.
No major gaps are found or anything like that?
No huge things. There were a lot of questions, but it seemed like the students or the authors of it, I mean, they've done their homework, and they really have just done a very good job. It seems like there's a lot more fine tuning that they're going to run with it, but they seem to be really receptive to what was said, and it seemed like the comments coming out of the public were just, I mean, it seemed like better than probably some of the best comments I've heard of those. I've been to most of those meetings. Is there anything?
No, I think it was a productive meeting.
Yeah.
And from the environmental standpoint, we have to address all those variables, and then we can adopt the EIR, and then we can come back and then make our general plan consistent with those comments.
There was a question about creating a tourism trailer for the city. And that was, I believe, an idea that Chris Martorena had come up with, and it was basically building a teardrop trailer that would then fold out to be used at events with leaflets and promotional items for the city. So when we had a street fair of some sort, it could be parked and opened up, and volunteers could pass out leaflets, or it could be taken to, I mean, some of the ideas were take it to a flea market, take it to a county type event, take it to something, and that was brought up a couple of meetings ago. It was pitched to the city council last meeting. I don't know, that was probably the first meeting I've missed in the 2 years I've been here, so I'm not really sure what came about.
Did they ever get to the San Juan committee? I mean, being that the businesses that are recipients?
That I don't know, because it was still, at our last meeting, it was still just kind of here's the idea. I think Chris had said he was going to donate the trailer. I told him I'd give him a hand building it. Somebody else says I got a saw. We were literally going to build a teardrop trailer. So a lot of excitement, and I think that's actually kind of a fun idea on how that comes together. And then the Youth Commission had their first meeting. Is that correct, John?
Yes, they did.
Yeah, so the Youth Committee had their first meeting. Maybe you can share the story about the valedictorian that was mentioned, and how I know that was kind of a proud little moment for that whole thing. I need to take a break.
Yes, all 6 of them met in late, I believe it was late May, maybe early June, and they elected, forgive me if I butcher the name, Yesenia Rios as the chairperson of the Youth Commission, and she was valedictorian of San Juan School, but she's going to be a senior at Anzar, so she hasn't graduated yet. It's impossible for her to be valedictorian until she graduates, but she probably will be. And they did some brainstorming, and they have a lot of ideas. Most of them are revolving, all of them are soccer players, most of them are revolving around the soccer field and soccer, but for them, they're having a great time, and I think they're going to do good.
Yep.
May see one on this commission one day.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And those were the big highlights from the meeting that I took out of it.
Thank you. That's good.
Can I add something to that?
Sure. You seem to be a local person here.
I'm local.
Yeah.
Can we get your name and address?
That trailer idea, Chris pulled that idea at the meeting when it was presented. Because the San Juan Committee has contracted with the bakery. We're going to create a tourism welcoming bureau there, or center there.
And
It's perfect.
Okay.
We've got some money from the Chamber of Commerce, Seminole County Chamber of Commerce. They're going to assist us.
That's great.
Wow, great.
With money. And yeah, we'll be starting that up pretty good. We have a large pool of volunteers that are going to man the center, and we're going to give it our best shot.
Yay.
Keep up the good work.
Yay.
You know, Mr. Ponce, before you leave, next to the bakery, there's that opening, there's that deck that used to be a deli or something like that.
Yeah.
Is there any way they could use that for?
It's not
No,
safe.
the condition is just not good.
It needs to be rebuilt.
Unsafe?
It's unsafe.
Yeah.
Okay, I just thought I'd wonder because it seemed like a perfect place to do it.
Yeah, and then that other building, that storehouse next to that empty, to what you're talking about, is available too, but the rent is really crazy. It's really high, so we're able to get the bakery with a reasonable rent, and we're going to start it.
That's good.
You know, if this trailer had the facade of the mission on it, you could have it sitting up there, and that would draw people just because of. We did this with the original post office in Seaside. They had the photograph, and the guys made a replica of that, you know, small. And so when they'd go out, they'd take it to the fair, you know, and
When he first mentioned it, we all looked and said, "Are you nuts?" And literally, by the time he got done explaining, we were like, "Yeah. We all want to have our hands in it." It was really cool.
One of the things that was brought up at the meeting when he brought that up was they failed to realize that if you take that trailer to a show, you can't just take it to the show and say, okay, I'm going to park my trailer. You have to pay a fee to get into the show, plus insurance, plus finding volunteers to go all over the place with this thing. So it's a little more complicated than it sounds. It sounds good, but it's a little complicated.
Yep.
Well, the bakery's going to be here for a while, I think. That's
make
good.
a great float. Okay. Thank you for the report. Okay, future agenda items. I guess the first one will be Harvey's Locker in September. In September. What else, folks?
Are we going to have another zoning meeting?
Oh, yeah, good question.
Okay, fourth Thursday. What's
When?
the fourth? What's the fourth Thursday?
The fourth Thursday?
Yeah, we've been doing it on the fourth
July.
Thursday for the last 5 years. Now, let's not do it at night. Let's do it daytime.
I am off on the
The
17th.
fourth Thursday would be
23rd?
the 23rd.
It's the, yeah.
And you're- Is that good for you or no?
On what day?
The 23rd?
We got 5 of them. 5 Friday.
What time are you thinking?
What time?
9 in
I
the
missed
morning?
the last one.
9 in the morning?
5 last time.
Okay.
5?
Yeah, 5. We missed it up the evening. I go for 9 o'clock in the morning. I mean, we have a tradition of doing this for 5 years.
Well, that's fine with me. But
Special meeting for the
zoning.
zoning matrix. We found a lot of problems with it, so we've been going over zone issue by issue, zone by zone, and we've had them at noticed special meetings.
Yeah, I mean, I could just do a half day on the 23rd. Just
Because
that's
we
what I
only
wanna
run them we only do an hour and a half, 9 to 10:30.
do. Oh, I'd say we go all day.
Well,
We'll leave lunch for you.
Yeah, you're awesome.
we'll designate him second vice chairman.
So the 23rd, 9 a.m.
Matrix. 09/23 at 9 o'clock. Trish, is that, you take care of that?
Sure.
Notice of public hearings? Or notice of meeting? Okay, anything else we want to talk about around here? Oh, Roger, what happened on, what's the status for the attorney on,
Leal.
the Leal?
Deborah hasn't got back to me yet. I forwarded everything to her, and she's been tied up with finishing the brief with Dadwells and everything. So,
Talk about priorities, yeah.
yeah, right, yeah. But I'll call her again and.
Yeah, tell her, just tell her the planning commission was asking, in that way.
Yeah.
It's not staff bugging her, it's,
And they have an event planned for this Sunday.
Yes, Rudy and I know about that. Yeah.
dull moment.
Yeah. Pushing the limits, yeah.
Yeah, pushing all the buttons.
Well, like I say, once that city attorney comes through, we'll just ask you to send a policeman down there, vacate the place, put a chain across the gates.
Thanks.
I've done this.
No, I'm not saying it
It's not
doesn't
like
need
we
to be
haven't given
done.
him a chance.
It's,
You're new here. We've been putting up with this for a long time.
oh, I've
Yeah.
been to most of the meetings where it's been put up with, so yeah.
So, we'll wait on the attorney on that one then. If the attorney comes back through, put it on the next agenda. Okay, anything else you want to see? Commissioner?
Say or see.
Say.
Is it turn for planning commissioners?
Okay, that's future comments. Yes, comments by planning commissioners. A.
Okay, I have a question about the sign ordinance. We have a new business in town. They have their portable sign out in front. So I'm wondering, when they applied for their business permit, did they get a copy of the sign ordinance or any reference to it, or how's this working?
I talked with Rudy this morning, and we're duplicating the thing, and we're making sure Michelle will have a copy of the design guidelines and sign ordinance for every new applicant.
That's good.
I think she did not have it and was issuing the permit. I think we cleared that up this morning.
Good.
So I think it's important to get them before they invest in signs that they're going to have to track.
Yeah, and I went down there this morning and spoke with the owner
Oh, good.
on several different occasions, because I had to run back to the office, get the side ordinance, take it back to her, and then point some stuff out, and also talked a little bit about the A-frame that was pointed out in the email. I mean, if for any reason, I do apologize for being a little bit lax on that, but, from now on, anybody that is applying for a new business license or even, going to renew it, we'll
So
go
did we
ahead and make
revise
sure.
the forms and everything that's done, or, okay. I did put, on the community bulletin board, we have the City of San Juan Bautista enacts new sign code, so it's just a snippet of the key points, and then Ernest always does this planning committee reports, notes. And the San Benito County Board of Supervisors did notes too. And of course, Chris does a synopsis of the city council meetings. So if you haven't picked up a paper, I think there's some in the back.
So I think that this is, if you do everything under the covers, nobody knows what's happening. So we have made every effort. I think it starts in City Hall. The website's been revised, redone. We can now watch these meetings, I guess, online as it happens or afterwards, because they streamed it and that's the official record. You have this document. We put stuff on what is this, Bonita Link. So any place that anybody comes up with that we should, and CMAP, any place that people feel we should be putting notices out, let us know, because that's the idea, is let the folks know what's happening, because let's face it, it's their town too. It's their town too, and they should have a say in it, and I just wish they would come out to these meetings. Okay, enough of my thing. City manager. We should call you city planner. Okay, any good comments? No? How about assistant city planner? Any comments you'd like to share with you?
No, I don't have any.
Yeah, we did something wrong. Like I said, you are the newest guy on the planning field. If you see something that you feel is out of line or it will cause us grief in the end, I hope that you would take that as your responsibility to let us know.
Okay.
Because part of your job is to keep us on the straight and narrow.
All right, will do.
Okay. Chair will entertain a motion for adjournment.
I move that we adjourn for the evening.
Okay. We don't need to. Anybody opposed to it?
If so, keep it to yourself.
Yeah. I like that. 20.